And we are live. Remember, it takes like 6 seconds for it to connect, man.
Okay.
We have the one and only inimitable.
Oh, wow. You're using inimitable now. Good
Inimitable.
for you.
Inimitable.
Yes.
Mr. Glenn Morshower.
There are not two of this kind in the house. There are not two Ken Walls in the world either, my friend.
Is
Hey,
that
Ken,
what inimitable means?
inimitable, a singular issue. Unable to be, the actual translation is unable to be imitated.
Whoa.
Inimitable. Unable to be imitated.
Inimitable. Wow, dude.
Yeah. And now that we've cleared that up, good night, everyone.
Oh my God. That is funny, dude. Corey Calvin's in the house. Ernest Odell. Man, we already have 20 people watching, and Ernest has already shared it out.
We're going to have the biggest gathering tonight we've ever had because both of us are on fire.
Yeah.
Aren't we, Ken? Aren't we on fire today?
Fire. F-I-Y-A. We are on fire. It's so hot, like we had to change the spelling of the word.
Ooh, nicely put.
Yeah, it's dude, man, what a day.
What a day, huh?
Tell everybody how this all went down.
I'm so excited that I acquiesce to you.
And I parlay back to you. No, dude.
Well, it starts with a conversation we had several hours ago when you said, dude, which I know it's great. Anything that begins with dude. And I remember going, what? And you said, that's what I do. You go, dude. And I go, what? And you said, did you see my guest yesterday on my show? And I said, no.
You did. Literally, you said it like that.
I know I did, dude. Wow. And you went on to tell me about it. And of course, your word is golden in my world because I've discovered that your review of things tends to parallel my own. Therefore, if you think something is going to be good, I know that it will be good. So I don't try to argue about it. I just said, dude, I'll watch it right now. And we hung up and I watched. And your talk with the good doctor, Dr. Bernie
Siegel.
Dr. Bernie Siegel. For those of you who did not see it, guess what? You're getting ready to see it because we're
gonna watch it and kind of narrate along the way. Not narrate.
Well, we're going to
add our own
share. We're going to share how it speaks to our collective hearts.
Yeah.
And this is where you guys come in. Hello, Roxy.
Hey,
hello, Weldon and Ernest and Kellyanne and Larry and Laura and so many more people that will be joining. But we do want you guys to chime in.
Yeah.
And I know Patricia's going to be joining us. Listen, I've had a triple scoop ice cream today of spirit. No, you know what? Quadruple, because it began with you, Ken. And it did. You were my first big scoop of ice cream today, spiritually speaking. And then you told me about Bernie. And I put Bernie on as a second scoop, and man, what a great second scoop he was. And then I got so excited that I had to tell Catherine about it. And so Catherine Hill became the third scoop. And then we got on the phone with Patricia, and I just feel completely fed, but at the perfect level, and not that level where you feel like you need to go puke because you've had too much to eat.
Right.
I just feel appropriately fed. And I thought, let's go live and let everybody know about the love language that is being spoken by people other than just the two of us, that is real, it's alive, it is out there in the world, and we will begin to see as an Earth School family that your joy quotient, your level of joy that you are currently experiencing, let me just say this about that. It's not an accident. You're not accidentally at the level of joy you're at. It's because you have made provisions or not. You've made provisions to embrace life in a certain way. And you hold belief systems in place, and you have specific lenses, a lens or lenses, plural, that you've been habitually looking at life through. Here's the downside of that. There's nothing wrong with that, except that not all of those lenses are giving you an accurate depiction of what is available to you.
Right.
And those are the yous that we're trying to reach. The people who, by simply shifting the lens through which they look at life, can find out that on the backside of what they're seeing, so much more is available to you in terms of just your joy, beginning and ending with just your joy, how good it feels to be alive, how connected you feel, how alone you no longer feel, how much energy is now moving through you, how much healthier you feel, and just fully experiencing restoration across the board. That's what tonight is about.
I don't think I could have said it better myself.
You comfortable with that as an introduction, bud?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hello to you, Charles Coachman.
So, for those of you that did not see my interview with Dr. Bernie Siegel, was yesterday. First and foremost, the man is a legendary author. He's written 19 books now, and he is a Glenn's going to be much better at saying this than me, probably, but articulating this than me. But Bernie is, if you could think of the most spiritual person that you could ever be in the presence of, I would say he's right up there. I mean, that's a pretty tall order.
And I share your assessment, by the way.
He is like
a great deal of time with him tonight.
He is, and so Glenn called. I gotta tell a story. So Glenn calls me after he watches the interview. Can I tell him what we talked about? Yeah. So Glenn calls me and he says, "Dude," and I'm like, "Yeah, you literally did. You said dude." He says dude now. I don't think Glenn ever said the word dude.
Never said it once in my life. In fact, really resented people that did. If I'm to be honest with you. And you converted me.
Oh my God.
I remember my initial take on dude sayers was, what a dipshit. Doesn't he know the language? I mean, really, dude. No, I got to tell you, actually, you packed the knockout punch. The initial guy that healed my strong opinionitis about the use of dude, you know who it was? Jeff Bridges. No, Jeff Bridges.
Oh, yeah. I love Jeff.
Right?
Oh,
so the Big Lebowski, and he plays the dude.
Yeah.
So when I met Jeff and I heard Jeff going, dude, and I'm like, God, somehow you just made that word wonderful. And so then you came to put the icing on the dude cake. Anyway, tell your story. Right. Tell your story, brother.
Oh, look, Glenn, I saw you on Bones today while watching it with my wife.
I played an astronaut on Bones.
Nice.
Cool.
So Glenn goes, so I'm talking to Glenn, and he could hear the excitement about this interview with Bernie Siegel in my voice, and I could tell he was excited to go watch the interview, because he goes, all right, dude, I'm gonna go. And I go, well, hold on a minute. And he goes, no, I'm gonna go watch it. And I go, okay, but like, okay, call me. Mm-hmm. So he watches it, calls me, and he says, dude, wow, I just got finished with my wife. My wife and I both just spent the last hour and 17 minutes watching and being blessed with the most incredible interview you've ever done.
I did. I said it was your best interview.
I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
By the way, I just want to mention that paraphrasing and parasailing, not the same thing.
They're not. I might be doing both right now. But anyway,
one doesn't, get this from a redhead, one does not require the use of sunblock.
Right.
You do not need sunblock in order to paraphrase.
No. Okay. So he says to me, I had a God whisper, a God download. I had this thing occur, and it was clear to me that I need to go meet Bernie in person. I need to meet him in person,
Mhm.
and I need to do it soon. And I said, wow, really? He said, yes. And I would love for you to accompany me. Where does he live? I'm
That's
like,
right.
isn't that something you should ask before? Like, but anyway, so I said, well, he lives in the Connecticut area. And Glenn said, dude, we have to go. And so I said, well, we can't do that tonight. So why don't we get him on a phone call?
And I
And
believe I worded it this way. I said, let's go get some Bernie on us. I just want to get some Bernie on me.
I,
And that's really what it comes down to.
right.
I want to see him. I want to be in his field of energy.
Yeah. And so we got Bernie on the phone, and I listened for most of the whole call. I laughed a lot. I had it muted a lot too, just because I was laughing so hard at some of the stuff. But so Bernie and Glenn, for the most part, for the better part of an hour and 17-ish minutes, talked. And I mean, it was, I took a screenshot at 1 hour. I took a screenshot, and it said on my phone, it literally, I'll show everybody the
I
screenshot.
think the word distribution, if I may guess at it, the word
It's,
distribution in that phone call was you for 3 minutes.
look, Glenn and Bernie.
Oh, wow.
And here's the other thing that you're not even thinking about, Glenn. I am, but you're not probably. And that is, wow, I have Bernie and Glenn's cell phone numbers. Like, holy crap. And not only that, I'm on this unbelievably like high spiritual call. It's like this crazy high spirit, like I can't even put it into words. And I'm like, I can't even believe this is happening. Like, this is crazy. And so it went on for an hour and 17-ish minutes. It was unbelievable.
Which, by the way, is the new mark, right? It's the new mark. It's how long his interview was with you. It's how long your phone call was with him and
And then,
me. And then we turn around and talked with Patricia for another hour and 17-ish. I think maybe it went 1 hour 19, but who's counting?
it was, yeah. So then we get on the phone with Patricia, and that was so it's just been a very,
By the way, is
very,
Patricia with us right now?
I don't know if she
Can
is.
we
She has
ask?
not
Can
said
we ask
hi.
her to say hi?
Patricia, come on with it.
Yeah,
Come on with it.
come on with it.
Come on with it.
Yeah, I know
So
she's going to be joining us. So
yeah, Patricia is probably watching in the background while she works or something. But now we've guilted her. Hopefully, we've put enough guilt on her that she'll stop whatever she's doing and just type in hello or something.
and I want to back up, Ken, because we're getting ready to put on this interview.
Yeah.
And again, we're not going to just show the interview straight through. We're going to look at parts of it, fast forward, look at other parts, and comment and listen to your comments. So please, I'm going to ask you guys in advance to step it up a notch. Your attentiveness, your interactive nature. Wouldn't even hurt to have a little pad and pen with you. This is more than entertainment tonight. This is actually we're going to do some work tonight. We're going to do some work on our lives on a Saturday night, if you're up for it, because it was profound. And the ramp into this is I woke up, and shortly after I woke up today, you remember when I called you and I said, Bud, I got a download.
Yeah.
You remember? That was before we talked about you mentioning the interview. In fact, I'm sure me mentioning that is what triggered, as it so often works in conversation, is you will say something. There she is.
There she is.
There she is, Ariel Patricia. So somebody will mention something that spawns additional conversation on that topic. So I said something about this download. I call them God downloads, which are almost invariably, with me, they are accompanied by a physical sensation that would closely resemble a chill. I call them God chills. And
Yeah.
it's a direct download where you know I have truth and only truth being beamed directly to me right now. And I want to articulate what I told Ken, because Ken was the second person I said this to, Carolyn being the first when I woke up. And here's the articulation of that. It was 2 questions. And the first question is, what are you doing? And the second question is, what is what you're doing? So meaning the answer to the first question, what is what you're doing costing you? And specifically, what is what you're doing keeping you from doing? So I want to review that. What are you doing? And what is what you're doing keeping you from doing? So a lot of times we wind up in these what are called velvet handcuffs. It's a great expression. And those are conditions that are quite comfortable, and yet we're handcuffed within them. And so we get trapped and we get stuck in the comfort, and we're so happy. And for many people, it's a financial comfort that they basically have sold out their life to their living conditions, or the car they drive, or the watches they wear, or the helicopter they own, or the plane they own, or whatever it is. And so many of these people I've known over the years because of my relationship with show business for 45 years. And you say, and I can just tell you right now that the more someone owns does not equal the happier they are. I can tell you that from experience. So it turns out that money does one thing, as I see. It exaggerates an existing condition. It exaggerates a pre-existing condition, and it also gives you options. There's Hyena just joined us. Hello, Nate. But it gives us options, and sometimes we just feel good knowing what we can do or what we could do. Ken, it's not about whether we do it or not. But for example, if I wanted to, I could go anywhere tomorrow in the United States, pay cash for it to go have lunch or dinner there. Right. Anywhere. I could. There is nothing stopping me. Whether I do or don't is not the issue. The fact that I could equals freedom.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing to know that you're free to do so. So I would love to share that with everyone. As one of the great formulas is make sure that you're in a position to be free to do so. Whatever it is. It's good to have you here, brother. It's good to have you here. And it's also good to acknowledge that it's good to be here. It's just good that you acknowledge that. Hello, Alan.
Look who's here.
Money makes you more of who you already are. That's exactly what I was saying, Alan. Yeah. It exaggerates a pre-existing condition. So I want to repeat one more time what this download was, because I saw it as sacred. I understood that it was. What are you doing? So I'm asking you guys that. Anyone who's watching tonight, what are you doing? Meaning with your life, with your time that you've been allotted here on the earth. What are you doing? And what is what you're doing keeping you from doing? And you will find that in some instances, possibly in many instances, what you're doing, while it may be enjoyable, but it actually has been taking up a huge amount of space in your budgeting of time and energy, and your soul is ready for you to graduate to a reconfiguration of your budget, meaning your budget of time, because it has bigger things in store for you. And what you're doing and how you've been and what choices you've been making and how you've been living and who you're running with and all of those things, they have been working for quite some time, but perhaps they've been working at the exclusion of other things that your soul has been starved for, that your soul is ready to experience right now. And it can't, as long as you are strong-arming it because you are wearing those velvet handcuffs to your current circumstance. So what could you let go of today? What is your soul ready to part with that could be replaced with something that is more correctly suited? Here's a great word, congruent with who it is you are, versus incongruent with who you are, but once upon a time was congruent with who you were. So how much of your butterfly experiences are based on what your caterpillar used to do, the caterpillar version of you? And now you become a butterfly. And I would say that as a butterfly, you deserve to have butterfly experiences. So that's what opened the door. And Ken immediately, like a great spiritual matador, went, ole, and he drew the cape back and revealed Dr. Bernie. And so we're gonna share a little of Dr. Bernie with you tonight.
And Dr. Bernie is, and Glenn, I think, would second this. He is definitely on a different spiritual level than most, in touch with a spiritual level that most of us haven't experienced yet. Is that accurate?
I think that's extremely accurate. And
Like,
Ken, for the sake of time, if you want, what we could do is you can open by maybe setting the stage yourself. If you can tell them what Dr. Bernie does and has done throughout his life, and then go from there, fast forward. All of it is worth watching.
Yeah.
But I think we can open it up more for dialogue from this audience, and maybe show the bulk of the second half of the interview, because that's
do you want me to fast forward to that?
I love all of it, but I'm saying that some of it was about laying the foundation. And so he was a child surgeon, right? He did surgery on children.
He was a pediatric surgeon for many years, and I mean, his resume is crazy, ridiculous. And but he was a pediatric surgeon. And let me just play. I'll play parts of the beginning of it.
He's really hip to non-traditional means of healing.
Yeah, and so let me get this queued up here, and I'm going to set it up.
Who is this guy? I really like this guy here.
This guy here?
Yeah, this guy on the screen here.
Yeah, I heard he's kind of a famous dude. I'm kidding. It's just me, dude. So here's Dr. Bernie. I'm excited to show.
And good evening, Susan. Good evening, Roxy.
Yeah. Good evening, gals. How you guys
doing?
Be
prepared to be blown away, kids. This is mighty good stuff coming up.
It is. Here we go. And we're back. I'm going to welcome my friend.
Do you want me to provide the lips so that the lip sync, so it'll be more in sync?
Oh, thank you. So honored to have you back on here again. Like, you.
Hey, Ken, did you share the audio?
Left in the tank.
It's, it's my life.
Yeah.
But let me, it's always.
Can you not hear it?
Yeah, I can, but it seems like it could be boosted.
George, he uses me, so I'm not in.
Hang on. Let me double check.
Yeah.
I may not have.
Bernie here is already talking about his angel.
I did.
Within him. Yeah, it felt like there was more available, but his angel, who he has nicknamed George, back it up a little bit. And
I'm going to, yeah.
He'll mention George.
Yeah.
It's, it's my life.
Yeah.
But let me, it's always hard for me to not talk because my angel does the talking, George. He uses me. So I'm not in charge of how much I say or what I say. It just comes popping out. But I mean, now I'm forgetting what I was going to tell you. But it's just, I know. Last night I was reading a book. I love Gandhi, and it mentioned him that he had one day of the week where he didn't talk to anybody. And somebody said to him, how impressed they were, what was his message to people, and he wasn't talking. So he wrote a note. He said, "My life is my message."
Wow.
And that simple statement, and I think if everybody thought that way, your life is your message. And how you respond, what you do, that's what's teaching, your children, your friends, your patients, everybody else. And I always say, I try to live this sermon. And one more, here I go, never stop.
Go,
People,
go. Hey,
I mean,
go for it. And by the way,
after-
I'm gonna give you full screen. I'm
All
still
right.
here, but I just want to give you full screen.
after I would lecture, people would say to me, I know we can trust you. I said, what are you talking about? You know you can trust me. Your wife and children are sitting in the audience. If you aren't living what you're saying, you wouldn't have them sitting there listening to you. And that impressed me, because how often the various famous people and politicians and others have their family sitting there,
Right.
listening to what they're saying. And my family, they were my coaches and critics, and with senses of humor. They, like, when I say I'm getting an award, the kids would say, oh, they lowered their standards. I'm going to write a book, call it Out of My Mind. And my wife ultimately became part of the lectures because of her, well, not a comedy, but a one-liner, stand-up routine. I always say, like a female Henny Youngman. And it was showing people the benefits of humor and laughter, because you could see the audience change. They'd laugh for 5 or 10 minutes and everybody looked healthier. So I would point out to them, be aware of how you feel now. And then after I got back on the stage, I would say, how do you feel now? And they all realized what a difference it had made. And it affects survival statistics. I mean, studies have been done. So even laughing for no reason helps you survive and be healthier. Yeah.
I love that. And, I know that, just to give the audience some, reference of where it all like started for you. Where were you born? You were born and raised in where again? You told me before. I don't remember.
Yeah, that foreign country called Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, that's before. So, but you ended up going to med school and you became a pediatric surgeon, right?
Yeah, and what's called general surgery, but I specialized in pediatric surgery. Because when I was at Yale, I realized nobody here had special training in caring for children. We'd have a child and they'd run and get a textbook on, okay, what do we do for this condition? And I thought, this is crazy. So I went off to Pittsburgh Children's Hospital. Oh, and I got to tell you a story. It was either Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. And C. Everett Koop was at Philadelphia. And I wanted to go there because it was closer to home, where my family was. But I also knew Dr. Kieswetter out in Pittsburgh. So I went to both places. But when I walked into Koop's office, I thought, I got to try to impress him and be very careful. And I walk in, and the stern Dutchman says, you were born on the same day as a famous American. I said, yes, Dwight Eisenhower. He said, there's another one. I said, really, who is it? Me. And that created a whole different relationships. Suddenly I'm not afraid of this guy.
Yeah.
We became lifetime friends, and he said to me, he lost the coin toss. So I ended up in Pittsburgh. And then I learned he also had graduated from Cornell, where I went to medical school.
Wow.
So we appeared once. I was invited back as a speaker at the graduation, and he was there to receive an award. So it was fun to be on the stage again with him and share.
So you did what made you decide to become a physician? I mean, were your parents in the medical field, or?
No, you see, that's what's interesting. As the Bible says, if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. If you bring forth what's within you, it will save you. And I think it's just.
So, Ken, I think that's a great
launching off
point. So he's saying that what you don't bring forth within you will destroy you. If it's your essence, he's basically saying, don't keep your essence a secret. Allow it to leak out of you. that is where you will be at your healthiest. And if you resist that, it will destroy you. And I got to tell you, here was my reaction to that.
It's true.
I get that. So you are a singular issue. I don't care who you are a singular issue. And you mustn't keep your let me word it this way. You mustn't keep your singular issue-ness a secret. The world's been waiting for you.
Yep.
The world's been waiting its entire life for you to share the gift that you are with it and with us. So do that, and everyone benefits. Not only do you feel better, but we feel better. And what it does is it completes that pattern of circulation. You know, we were not designed to coagulate spiritually. We're supposed to be in circulation exactly like blood. Blood can't stop. It needs to be in motion, and so do we.
Yep.
So don't put your essence in storage, please. Let it out while you're here.
I love what he says. I'm going to back it up a little bit. I want to replay what he says there. What made you decide to become a physician? I mean, were your parents in the medical field, or?
Oh, you see, that's what's interesting. As the Bible says, you know, if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. If you bring forth what's within you, it'll save you. And I think it's the same kind of balance. I told my parents I wanted to be a doctor. My father said, I can't help you if you want to be a doctor. Well, you know, he was a vice president at American Broadcasting Company and everything. He said, I could get you in there. No, but they said, okay. Because my mother's message was always do what makes you happy. And so if I said, I want to be a doctor, I mean, I learned later from my past life, related to what the book is about, that I had been a knight who killed with a sword in Ireland. I'm sure it was there because of many coincidences. And I thought, wow. So now,
hey, Ken, we're getting an echo, bud.
Oh, it's because I didn't mute. Yeah, I need to mute my mic.
Yeah, we're getting a little echo, brother.
Yeah, sorry.
People.
Wow.
Not to kill and destroy. Now, I didn't consciously think of that when I said I'll be a surgeon. But I was an artist as a kid, so I thought I want to use my hands, you know, so being a surgeon would be good. And, you know, I love kids, so that. But what really redirected me in the medical area was a patient of mine. We were at a conference together, and I was the only doctor in the audience. I couldn't believe it. You know, it was Dr. Carl Simonton who wrote Getting Well Again. It was to help cancer patients with imagery and other things. And I blew my mind, you know, what medicine is like. I'm the only doctor out of 150 people, but my patient sat with me.
At a medical conference?
Yeah. I mean, he was in Connecticut talking about his book and, you know, empowering cancer patients. And this is the sentence that she said, and I always wish I could find her again. She said, you're a nice guy. I feel better when I'm in the office with you, but I can't take you home with me. So I need to know how to live between office visits. That redirected my whole life.
So can you stop it there for a minute, Ken?
Suicide rate.
So what Dr. Siegel here is referencing is really the power of the upstream fix. So we are so obsessed in this country as a people, and I don't mean you, Ken, and I don't mean me, and I'm not saying specifically anyone in our audience, but as a nation, we are so obsessed with addressing the symptom while ignoring the cause.
Yep.
Right? So he's clearly going to root cause and addressing it. We call that an upstream healing instead of patching everything downstream and only putting a Band-Aid on the symptom. And he really understands that mind over matter, that our thoughts we're running equal outcome. Thoughts do equal outcome. And he articulated this in so many ways throughout this interview that we really have to basically take care of the garden of thought. That's an expression I use, but he worded it differently, just that we have to watch the thoughts we're running, because those thoughts are creating our health for us or lack of.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is when I'm writing something, I'm not like a shorthand writer. There's people that know all those symbols, and I write out everything. And so I just wrote out, if you don't bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will destroy you, is what he said, right? And he was quoting the Bible. And
Right.
What's interesting is I wrote the word that with a capital T, just like I would God, because that which is within you is God. God is in you. Like, God wants you to express what you are supposed to be.
Right.
So if you're not expressing what you're supposed to be and helping the world and doing that thing, that very thing will also destroy you.
And agreed wholeheartedly. And we could word it this way. What exactly is the game plan here? What do you think you're going to achieve? What good can you bring the world by concealing who it is you are? So
Right.
Imagine this. Have you ever noticed, Ken, that a hardware store does not sell black colored lights?
No, I've never looked.
They have clean glass, and the reason, or tinted glass. But what I'm saying is, they don't sell a tape that you're supposed to wrap around the light bulb.
Right.
They don't sell that. And the reason is because the whole idea of a light bulb is to allow the light to express itself. That doesn't mean it physically is going to leave the bulb, but it is going to be witnessable. The light will be witnessable because the lens is pure and it's clear. And that's when we are at our healthiest, when we allow the light bulbs that we are to shine their light. And I've been teaching this for years, that I personally hold the opinion that whenever we run a thought, and especially when we take an action, both do this, but the action does it to an even greater extent. I think that we literally, when we choose an action that is incongruent with who it is we are, let me restate that. When we say yes to an action that is incongruent with who it is we are, we basically take a big black can of spray paint and we spray paint it all over the glass that surrounds us. It's yet another squirt. And each time we do more things, it's another squirt. And before long, we are hidden behind this wall of darkness because we surrounded ourselves with things that were incongruent with our light.
Amen, dude.
So if we're careful with our experiences, it's interesting. A thought, and I'm gonna go back to and expand on Dr. David Hawkins, who said that every thought we run and every action we take either contributes or contaminates.
Yeah.
So, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. And we can add a visual that if it does either contribute or contaminate, which I believe that it does, then what that would mean is, if it contaminates, it sprays black spray paint on your glass. If it contributes, it actually takes Windex to your glass.
Yeah.
It actually polishes the glass. Everything you do that is congruent with who you are, it polishes the glass, and it makes sure that the glass surrounding your beingness is kept clean and clear, and it makes your light immediately identifiable, and people will witness it in all of its splendor, and it will not be impeded nor hindered by anything.
I agree. Totally agree. Let me see. There is someone new on your friends list that I sent, Joshua T. Berglund. Yeah, Joshua's a great dude. Great dude. So let's keep watching this. Let's see where I love.
Drop a one, guys. Drop a one if you're into this. If you're into what we're doing tonight.
Yeah,
because Dr. Bernie really deserves to be honored. He is an infinitely wise man, as you're going to see. You've already seen evidence of it, but all I can say is stay tuned. You ain't seen nothing yet.
I was gonna say, as the saying goes, you ain't seen nothing yet. All right, we got
Robert
one
Brooker
more.
dropped a 1.
We got
Here they
two.
come. Here come the ones. Here
Oh,
they
there
come.
they are. There they are.
We
All
know
right.
it's good when Nate gives us an Uno. He always gives us the Spanish 1. Alan's
I
given
know.
us a 1. Doug's given us a 1.
Yeah.
Patricia 1. All right, everybody's into it. Let's go.
And just, I want everybody to know, like, Bernie, Dr. Siegel is literally a legend. He is a legend. And like, just to have, it is a gift and a blessing to have this interview to share with you guys. It really is. It's amazing.
It blew me away, and I get to see it twice today. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. All right.
And doctors is higher than general population. Why? Because you can't cure people, all this pressure, this stuff going on. But when she said, I need to know how to live, I thought, wow, I can help everybody then. I'll help people live. Even if I can't cure their disease, I've done something for them. And that's what woke me up. You send 100 letters out saying, you want to live a longer, better life, come to a meeting. I expected hundreds of people to show up because the secretary did not say this is only for the people who received the letter. You know,
Right.
you can't bring your friends and relatives. And 12 women showed up.
That's it.
I'm trying to help you live and you don't want to go to a meeting, but they were afraid of being failures. That's, you want me to read a book? I don't have time. I can't draw pictures. I can't this, I can't that. Because I got into using art in the sense of draw your treatment, draw yourself, a whole bunch of stuff, you know, that Carl Jung wrote about years ago. But again, the psychiatrists know what doctors don't know about people.
Right.
Right. It's fascinating. When I sent an article to a medical journal, it came back saying it's interesting, but it's not appropriate for our journal. I sent it to a psychiatric journal. It came back saying, yes, it's appropriate, but it isn't interesting. We know this. And see, that's when you think about it. You go to a doc. Look, this is a quote from Jung. See, it's saying the same thing 100 years ago. The diagnosis helps the doctor, but it does help the patient. But the other thing is the story. For it alone shows human background and human suffering. And only at that point can the doctor's therapy begin to operate. So psychiatrists saw what I call survival behavior, you know, whether it's coronavirus, AIDS, or anything else. They realize how personality can play a part in surviving. But when you go to a doctor, here's a pill, you know?
Yeah.
I'm depressed. Here's a pill. Well, don't you think you ought to ask me why I'm depressed? If my house burned down and my whole family died, don't you think you ought to deal with that too? Not just here's a pill. Yes.
That's like, you know, one of my favorite books, and I recommend it to all my clients that if any coaching I do is called, and I know you've heard of it, Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh,
Viktor
absolutely.
Frankl.
Viktor Frankl. And I mean, look at what he went through and survived. And he realized that they could take everything from him except for his mind.
Because even before his book came out, I started reading as a resource books by concentration camp survivors.
Wow.
Because I realized they were telling us, well, back to Gandhi, you know, my life is my message. So the people in the concentration camps who were helping other people in the concentration camp were more likely to survive.
Right.
And never forget one story where there was a very sick fella, and they were told by the German guard, a train is coming to take you to a work camp. And everybody got, oh boy, I hope I can get on it, because they thought no gas chamber, a work camp. And so he turned to this fellow and he said, look, you're not doing well. They gave me, you know, like the slip of paper that I could get on that train, but here, you take it and you go, because you need better conditions with your bad health. What he learned was it was going to a gas chamber.
Yeah.
They were lied to. But you thought, why did that guy survive? Because he cared about somebody else.
Right.
If he had been selfish, he wouldn't be alive today. And those are the messages I think that we all need to know. Your head and your heart need to be connected. And that when people, as one young lady said, when you live in your heart, magic happens. So it's good for you in every single way.
It's literally, I show this all the time on here. I have this little book when I was, and today is the 2-year anniversary. I can't believe it's only been 2 years that I was in Dallas at the Zig Ziglar headquarters with all of Zig's children, who are now dear friends of mine, Julie, Tom, and Cindy, and amazing people. In fact, I missed a phone call with Julie today, but they gave me the Zig Ziglar's little book of big quotes. And when you open this thing up, on the very front cover, it says you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. And that's Zig's most famous quote. And that's exactly what Bernie's talking about. When you stop putting all of the focus on you and you start putting the focus on others and helping others, and really, like, I people that say, well, if I go live or I do anything, because I teach that, right? I teach live streaming. And so people are like, well, I don't know, what am I going to say? Well, if you get out of yourself and you look at, what can I do to help? Maybe it's I can teach you how to fix a squeaky door. Maybe it's I can teach you how to bake the best pie ever. Maybe it could, whatever your gift is, like, find it, explore it, and go out with that gift and say, I'm taking this gift I was given and I'm going to help the world. That's what that's my purpose, is to help other people, like, right?
And you jump out the window and you grow wings on the way down.
I don't know any other way.
No, you absolutely do, Ken. You make an excellent point. And with regard to getting up and speaking and people freaking out, well, how will I do that? What I can't get so many people. I would get so nervous. And it's like, let me explain something to you. Has it ever intimidated you before you go to sleep that you're going to have to have your heart beat 33,560 times while you're asleep? Oh my God, it's a lot of heartbeats. How do I manage that? And the answer is, you trust and you close your eyes. And in so many ways, that's what going on stage is you just trust and you step onto the stage. And here's the deal. As long as you speak the truth, the very next correct thing will be added unto you. The minute you start bullshitting them, everything implodes. Everything collapses, because
Amen.
The system we're living in does not wish to cooperate with your bullshit act. So as long, I'm calling it the way it is. So as long as you're willing,
a PG rating, by the way.
I'm already over it. So as long as you're just speaking your truth, then I can guarantee you from much experience, the very next correct thing for you to say will be right there. Eminently accessible, and you can't explain it. It's just the way it works. You will absolutely not only know what to say, but I want to take it a step further, Ken. If you're deeply dialed into spirit, it will even tell you what intonation to use in order to share the message. It will guide your every move, and you'll know to speak with fire in your heart. You'll know to speak with tenderness. You'll know to stop in the middle and look to your right and look to the back and check back over to your left and look around and see, who is this landing upon right now? Who is this moving? And then just hold eye contact with them, uniquely them, and watch what comes to mind when you land in an agreed upon truthful moment. It is, man, there is nothing more powerful than the refueling power that people in an audience have when you dare to connect with them one-on-one. Totally. And all you have to do is stop and check it out and breathe it in, and the rest is history. Totally. Let's go back into Dr. Bernie.
Okay. You know, I belong to a fellowship um, of recovering individuals with 18 years of eight. I have 18 years of sobriety now, and it is the very thing that the entire recovery movement is built on.
Right.
If you want long-term sobriety, give it away to other people, and you get to keep it.
Right.
Like it's that's what it's about.
What's that? What's the list called that AA has?
12
The
steps.
12 steps.
Yeah, the 12 steps. You
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
when I read that, I thought, yeah, they're saying the same thing. You can 12 steps to a cancer patient and say, live this message. And then I have to tell you one more crazy story because, you know, I'm on stage.
One
people
more.
say to me,
Yeah, stop
how do
it
you
there for a
handle
minute.
stress?
This is one of
I
Dr.
went to both places. But when I walked in,
This is one
I
of Dr.
clicked the
Bernie.
wrong. I clicked the wrong.
That's all
dang
right. You
page.
can go further back, but Dr. Siegel here says one more thing, and I busted him on it today because I know that it will never be one more thing. One more thing might mean 100 more things, and each time he says it so beautifully, and then what happens is he's greeted with yet another download, and that voice is saying, "Tell him this, tell him this, tell him this." And the best thing we can do is just receive it. And he's given a blessing when we receive. So he said, you'll hear him say it, and it's so adorable. He says, oh, just one more thing. He says it many times during the interview, and it is absolutely beautiful, and I get it.
Yeah, it's I've completely lost my place now.
Well, just start hopping around, and we'll know whether or not we've seen it. We'll tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
You're probably about 30 minutes in.
No, I'm not that far in.
Like I said, you're 19 minutes in.
A joking matter, like it just what, but you know, I mean, look, I think that I love the message that you have, and so here you are working, and you know,
one more crazy story because better conditions with
Right.
your
individuals with 18 years movement is the 12 steps.
Yeah, the 12 steps. You
Yeah,
see,
yeah.
when I read that, I thought, yeah, they're saying the same thing. You can 12 steps to a cancer patient and say, live this message. And then I have to tell you one more crazy story because, you know, I'm on stage. People say to me, how do you handle stress? And one night, I'm kidding around. I said, well, drugs and alcohol. And, you know, I figured they know I'm kidding. And then I go to the men's room after the lecture and the door flew open, bam. And this guy comes running in, you know, you're coming with me. I thought, holy shit. I mean, he's going to mug me, kill me, shoot me, beat me up. What is going on here? He's screaming, ranting, raving. And I said, what is it? What did I do? He said, I'm taking you to an AA meeting. I said, I am sorry. I was kidding. I realize now it's not a joke to you, and I'll never do that again. But I tell you, he scared me because I'm sure, you know, he's going to beat you up, steal your money, do something.
Yeah, right, right. He's probably like, dude, you're in denial.
I learned it's not a joke.
No.
You know, he's dealing with it, and I learned to deal with people's experience and appreciate it. Yeah.
Meet them where they are. And I know, like for me, I joke around about it now, but you know, back then when I first got sober, it was not a joking matter. Like it just what, but you know, I mean, look, I think that I love the message that you have. And so here you are working, and you know, my wife's brother was diagnosed with leukemia.
Can you stop it for one sec? Dude,
Yeah.
That was my cousin that just congratulated you.
Thank you, Lee. I appreciate that. And Lori, the 12 steps saved my life as well and continue to make my life explode in every way. So I am so happy to have you here and experiencing this with us.
And for those of you who have made a late arrival, what we're doing tonight is we're kind of looking at the highlight reel of talk that was given by Dr. Bernie Siegel an interview that Ken did on his show. It was yesterday, right, Ken?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, he was Ken's guest on Breakthrough Walls. And we were so both incredibly moved by this talk that we got on the horn today with Dr. Siegel and did a little three-way call. And it was just nirvana. And we decided, you know what, we're going to get into a review of his interview tonight on the show. So that's what we're doing. So let's go back into more of Dr. Siegel.
Okay. Check your phone, by the way, dude.
Oh, okay.
When he was 6 years old. And so and he's 46 now, but he's had bouts of cancer off and on his whole life. And you know, they spent a lot of time at Children's Hospital in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, you saw those young patients coming in, and you saw the grief and the pain, because, you know, their family saw a lot of families that lost their children to cancer, you know, and you experienced that. What was that like?
Well, it was painful, but the thing I learned is to treat them like children. On my website, Bernie Siegel, MD, I have an article called Deceiving People into Health, because I learned that I could lie to kids and they would believe me and do well. See? And the example I always give is, you take an alcohol sponge, you rub their skin and say, this is going to numb your skin. You won't feel the needle. Don't worry. And 80% of the kids say, wow, why don't the other doctors do that? You know, 20% say, I felt it. I say, well, it must have been a bad, you know, sponge. I'm sorry. But it impressed me. So I lied to children for their benefit.
Yeah.
And they were never upset with me for helping them. One kid, it wasn't my patient. I always remember, he had a water gun in his hospital room, and he had a sign over his bed, intern shot on site, because people would come in and he'd squirt them. But the nurses knew he was a survivor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't take the gun away from him. He was a big hit. And in that way, I learned to help the kids and care for them. I'd carry them into the operating room. They didn't have to ride the stretcher, you know, so they knew. Oh, and one young lady, this was the greatest gift of all. You're my CD. I said, what the hell are you talking about? I'm a CD. You're my chosen dad.
Oh, wow.
And once she said that to me, I realized that's what I'm going to do. So I would say to kids, adults, anybody who was feeling desperate and alone, I'll be your chosen father. I will love you. And
wow.
I can hold them up in front of you. But from about 30 years ago, she said, I got a phone call saying, do you have Jack Kevorkian's phone number? I want to be dead. I have a brain tumor. My father has sexually abused me. I want to be dead.
Wow.
I called her. I said, I don't have Jack Kevorkian's phone number. You know, didn't really like what he was doing. It was like he was taking charge of death and killing people.
Yeah, right.
I don't mind helping people die when they're ready, but I don't kill them. And I said to her, I love you. You're a child of God. And she's alive and well today, and sends me all these cards. And the one of the cards amongst many is Happy Father's Day to my bonus dad. And I thought, that's great, from chosen to bonus. But I'm getting cards from her all the time. And it's like a package of love. It's such a gift to me to open this, and boom, Becky has sent me another card. And she's from Texas, and I did meet her, you know, when I was down there. So it's real. But if we
Can I point out, Glenn?
Yeah, bring picture up, but there you go.
Can I point out that it is like, you can see it in his spirit that he genuinely means that. Everything he just said, he genuinely means, I will be your bonus dad. I'm here for you.
Yeah, no doubt. Although I thought you were stopping it to point out that he just mentioned that good people live in Texas.
I think he said one good person.
Right after he said it, you stopped it, and I thought, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Ken noticed that. That's really thoughtful of you, bud. I just want to tell you, I want to look you right in the eye.
You
I want to look
got it.
you right in the eye and tell you that was very thoughtful of you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're both kind and considerate, Ken.
I know I am, and humble.
Let's go back to the doctor.
Hey, look, we got Leanne joining us from
Australia. She's way down under. You never know. You never know, Ken. You might be able to listen to the show, right? You got to take your time. You got to play Dr. Siegel and see what he's got to say. He's got to say a lot of words. You never know, right? You never know. Right, Leanne knows what I'm talking about. I mean, it's crazy. Anyway, go ahead.
Leanne, chime in and let me know how good is his accent.
I'm gonna make it Australian night. I am all night one night when we're doing the show. I'm gonna sound like this, and I'm gonna make it impossible for anyone to be able to identify where I'm from. It'll be and then another night I'm gonna talk to you like this. It's gonna be fantastic. It's okay.
Oh, look, she said you sound like a Kiwi.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like New Zealand. They sound like that in New Zealand. Right. I know what she means by saying Kiwi.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, here we go. Right now we're listening to Dr. Siegel. Dr. Siegel tends to talk, a little bit more like this. We like Dr. Siegel. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
We do that with each other. Let the other person you love them. What a difference it makes in their life. And I changed my office too. My desk went against the wall. And people would come in and say, this doesn't seem like a doctor's office. I'd say, yeah, because I'm not separating myself from you.
Wow.
And when you ask doctors, well, think one more thing that people can use. I could say to you, draw yourself working at interviews. Draw yourself working as a doctor. What blew my mind the first time I did that was that this whole, 100 medical students, 98 of them drew themselves sitting behind a desk with a diploma on the wall and no other person in the room. One drew only equipment, like computers and instruments. One drew himself kneeling in front of a wheelchair, handing a lady a tissue with his arm around her.
Wow.
That's being a doctor. He's handing her a tissue. That's what she needs right now. And all the others are, I'm a doctor. They're treating diseases. Yeah. But
it's
are way behind in paying attention to that.
Yeah.
Why do you want to be a doctor? And look at what it's going to mean to you. And then the suicide rate would go down too amongst doctors. Yeah.
So what do you think? I'm a huge believer in my sister is she's a nurse practitioner, which is pretty much a doctor. I think, I don't know, but I'm a huge believer in the placebo, the what the mind believes the body will follow.
Right.
And yet there are these things, and I know that Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was one of my
Can you pause
heroes,
it there, Ken?
and I know he died at a young age.
Just want to piggyback on something that came from Aristotle, which is, I don't have a note that I need to reference because I've been teaching this for years, but Aristotle gave us a quote about the mind and the body and the soul and the body and the healthy prioritization of either one. And here's what he said. Aristotle said this. He said that soul and body interact sympathetically with one another. A change in the state of the soul produces a change in the shape of the body. Conversely, a change in the shape of the body produces a change in the state of the soul. So what he was basically saying is that We are divided soul and body, and yet whenever we prioritize one or the other, except I couldn't help but notice that Aristotle correctly mentioned soul first. He says soul and body. He does not say body and soul.
Right.
So soul and body react sympathetically upon one another. A change in the state of the soul produces a change in the shape of the body. Conversely, a change in the shape of the body produces a change in the state of the soul. And so he was saying that if we prioritize a change and we embrace our soul and make it a healthy, prioritized situation, then don't be surprised when the body very quickly says, hey, wait, don't leave without me. So if you're going to start working on how beautiful you look on the inside, we want to shape up your outside so that we can create an appropriate housing around you so that people can look at you and know the story of your internal truth. This comes directly from Aristotle. And he also said that it works the other way, that if you prioritize your body and start treating it as the temple that it is, that as it gets better, your soul will then go, hey, and it will also call out and say, don't go improving without me. Because if you're going to improve your body, then you deserve to have a better occupant, basically is what it comes down to. You deserve to have a more awakened occupant that is making decisions on behalf of the body. So all, Dr. Siegel is saying here is stuff that Aristotle said a long time ago. And what it teaches me is that invariably awakened people will continue to stumble upon the same core truths year after year after year throughout time. We keep revisiting these truths, and we revisit them or visit them as though they're original or that they're new. They're not. They've been around forever. They are new to us, but they are not new.
As you know, I've read every book that Dr. Wayne Dyer ever put out, and I just love the way he teaches and speaks, and he tells a story in one of his books. It may have been There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem, but he tells a story of a man that worked in the rail yards, and apparently it was a true story, I think. And he says that this guy goes into a refrigerated car to grab a tool that he had left on a Friday night, and the door closes behind him and he can't get out of this refrigerated car. And he realizes it's quitting time. Everybody's leaving for the weekend, and he is about to be locked into
and freeze to death.
Yes. And so they found him Monday morning, slumped over against the side wall of the refrigerated car, holding a piece of cardboard he had found and somehow scratched some writing on it. And he wrote, "It's cold, getting colder, getting colder." And that was it. And he was holding that in his hands, and they found him dead in this refrigerated car. And then, which is sad, that sucks. But
I think there's a twist coming.
Upon further investigation, they found that this refrigerated car had been in for quite some time for repairs, and it wasn't even operational. And it was like 65 degrees, something ridiculous, maybe 59 or something, whatever it was. It was chilly, but not cold.
But certainly survivable. And yet the placebo believes
the body follows. So he truly believed that his life was coming to an end because he was locked inside of this freezer car and it wasn't even on.
Right. But he believed, and that's all that mattered, so that his body began reacting to what it believed to be true. Our good friend Bob Donnell has a law that he refers to as the law of acceptability. And he says that which becomes acceptable becomes inevitable.
Yeah.
So that became acceptable to him, that this is what's going to happen. I'm in a freezer car, therefore I will freeze to death. And then his body carried out that script and went ahead and wrote the script to the final act and the completion of dying. So that which becomes acceptable becomes inevitable. And how we use this to our advantage, Ken, is if we are desiring certain things, those things cannot knock on the door of manifestation until we have accepted it.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people waste years and years and years wanting, wishing, and hoping, but they have spent zero time accepting.
Yeah.
Like, can you accept that this thing you desire is already going on in the mind of God and is readily accessible to you right now? That you can have it right now, unless you think you can't.
Right.
So all work for manifestation, for you manifestation candidates out there, make sure you spend time seeing yourself to where the thing you desire becomes acceptable to you entirely, to have it, to claim it, to live it and breathe it as your own. Just make sure that it's acceptable, because until it's acceptable in here and certainly in your heart, I'll promise you it will evade you.
Yep.
It will evade you. And all it's saying is, you're not accepting that I'm available to you. You're not accepting it. And as soon as you accept it, guess what? I will show up. And if you really accept it in consciousness, I will stay.
There's my buddy Laura Di Benedetto over in Hawaii. She's in Maui, dude.
Nice.
Yes.
Hello, Laura in Maui.
She has been, I've been on Zoom meetings with her, and she's taken her laptop and turned it around and shown me the unbelievably beautiful views of the mountains, and it's gorgeous there.
Hey, if Patricia is still on, Patricia, do you feel like we're honoring your good buddy, Dr. Bernie Siegel? Do you feel like we're honoring him tonight? Because that certainly seems to be what she had to leave.
I don't know if she's still here.
Our commitment is to honor him.
Let's get back to honoring him and bring it back on. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Thank you all for supporting Dr. Siegel tonight, and let's all learn from his wisdom.
Yes. Age of cancer. And I've thought to myself many times, why? Because he knew that he could heal himself. He knew he had this infinite power, but yet he died. Why?
Well, first, I always say to people, death is not a failure. We're all going to die. And the key, see, if he had come into my office, I would have said, what's going on the last couple of years in your life? See, why do you have cancer now? Why didn't you have it 10 years ago? Why don't you have it 10 years from now? And that's when doctors would say to me, why are you blaming your patients? I say, what the hell are you talking about? You keep asking them what's going on in your life. Yes, that's what makes them vulnerable.
Pause it
there, system,
Ken.
I know I
couldn't agree with him more wholeheartedly, because he is, I want to say this emphatically in his defense, he is certainly not blaming them. What he's trying to identify is a point of origin, that point of being identifiable as dis-ease, not disease, but dis-ease. Where is the dis-ease in your life? And he's simply trying to help them connect the dots to see if they can figure out why certain things are occurring now and not 10 years ago or 10 years in the future. What is going on now? That's what's called an upstream repair job. So if he can get them to say, well, let's see, I work 60 hours a week, I eat too much, or I drink too much, or I've been unhappy in my marriage for many years. And he's going, he's basically saying, if we were to look at this on a spreadsheet, you've got all of these areas of what I want to now connect, right, Dr. Siegel with Dr. Hawkins and do a little comparative shopping here, because Dr. Hawkins referred to it as contribution over here, contamination over here. And what he would say is, you have too many contaminants going on to be well. So What if, instead of me giving you a pill, or me giving you radiation, or me giving you surgery, and we're not knocking those things, by the way, tonight at all. What we're saying is, before we hasten to do that, what if we make some basic and simple adjustments to your day-to-day life by practicing toxicity reduction? What is it in your life that serves as a contaminant? Because you only have two categories. You're either contributing or you're contaminating. And listen, If what you're doing is contributing to the wellness of your life and your spirit, by all means, keep it up, brothers and sisters. Keep doing the things that bring you joy. But if you've got something going on in your life that is toxic, that is rotting you at the level of soul, please do not underestimate the power of these things to hold dominion over your life.
Yep.
You know, none of us are immune to just being pulverized by toxicity. We are creatures of absorption by nature. So at some point, you may have a very, very good immune system, but I'm telling you, if you immerse yourself in toxicity, eventually it's going to get the best of you. So let's practice toxicity removal and ultimately reduction just a little bit at a time. Even if you slide one bad habit, and maybe it's you run some dark thoughts about your own life, or you periodically make statements of your own inadequacy, and you just delete that from your verbiage. Let's just start with that.
Yeah.
And if instead of eating a full box of ding dongs every day, you don't only stop the ding dongs, but you replace it with something that actually nurtures you. Instead of sitting on the couch, let's slide that over and instead replace it with a morning walk. So for every toxic thing that's going on in your life, if you get it off the page of your life, that's great, but you will move into the fast lane of healing and healthy manifestation if you replace those things that you're taking off the page of your life with something that's really, really good. This is a wonderful way to reconfigure the priority system of your life. This is exactly what, Dr. Bernie is talking about. Oh, I haven't forgotten his name. He rocked my world today.
I know.
So,
hey, Joe Ingram's on. Let's watch this, man.
Good, Joe. Enjoy.
Monday morning, we had more heart attacks, strokes, suicides, and illnesses. Is it Monday? No. Now, why didn't you have it 10 years ago? Why don't you have it 10 years from now? And that's when doctors would say to me, why are you blaming your patients? I said, what the hell are you talking about? You keep asking them what's going on in your life. Yes, that's what makes them vulnerable. What affects your system, your stress hormones? Monday morning, we had more heart attacks, strokes, suicides, and illnesses. Is it Monday? No. It's how you feel about your job. So you don't want to go to work. You don't like your life. Your body does you a favor. I'll get you out of here. We'll get you sick. We'll get you dead too, and then you'll feel well. Because we are not our bodies. I mean, I write about things I have experienced, which includes a near-death experience as a 4-year-old, choking on a toy. I had taken it apart, imitating some guys who were working in our house at that time.
Hey, Ken.
They put the nails in their mouth in those days.
Ken, one more quick thought about the Monday morning thing that I think deserves clarification. Dr. Siegel was not saying that he was specifically saying there's nothing intrinsically flawed about Monday. What he was implying is that it was beginning of the work week that people are not happy about. So in defense of those of us who love their work week, I want to say that Monday is a day we welcome. Monday is a day we celebrate and we receive. So please know that that's available to you. You just have to create a job assignment for yourself and or switch your attitude about the job you've been bitching about and instead uplift that job and think of the ways in which it serves you by keeping a roof over your head and food in your belly and coworkers who are capable of being stimulated if you can quit seeing them with a jaded eye. And whatever it is. But Mondays are beautiful. You know what I do all day. And I don't work 8 hours. I work 13 hours every Monday. At least 13, because I sit down at my computer at 11:30 sharp and I sit in front of this very screen that I'm in front of now. And I don't leave it till about 12:30 at night. And I celebrate every minute of that. So where these diseases are coming in on Monday mornings are from people who are returning to the very circumstance that has toxified their life. So either come up with a healthier interpretation of the life you hate or change it. But here's what you mustn't do. Don't grow old bitching about it, because that doesn't solve anything. Stop bitching and fix it, or reframe your thinking about it. And then you can smile instead of frown with regard to your job.
I agree. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
They go bang, bang. And I aspirated and was choking to death and left my body and had the near-death experience. But the fascinating thing to me was, because as a 4-year-old, I didn't know this was unusual. You know, I didn't run around telling everybody what happened because I thought everybody knows about this. But I always referred to it when I told the story as the kid on the bed. And one day I thought to myself, why don't you say yourself? You see, because I would say, I looked at down the kid on the bed. Why don't you say me or yourself? And I realized, because I am not that body.
Oh, wow.
It really struck me.
Wow.
I'm not the body. I'm the consciousness, the spirit that's, you know, floating around the bedroom. And I always laugh too, because I have an angel, literally, as I told you. His name is George. And the kid on the bed vomited and all the pieces came flying out and he started breathing again. And I was sucked back into his body, mad as hell. Because the first words out of my mouth were, "Who did that?" Because I tell you, every 4-year-old is upset when they don't die, if you know what I mean. Because as a 4-year-old, when you're out of your body, floating around, having a wonderful time, seeing, thinking, who the hell wants to go back? And my mother,
You said, who did that?
Into the room, didn't want a wonderful explanation of my fantastic experience, you know, because she knew I almost choked to death, seeing the pieces, my vomit, everything. But I realized I had a Heimlich maneuver done by my angel. I swear to God. And up comes everything, and I'm breathing again. But again, you realize you're not your body, and it gives you a different feeling. So that's why I got into the past lives, you see, that our consciousness is recycled.
Thank you, Joe. Good night to you, buddy.
What do I mean by that? I mean that
See
it's
you,
not
Joe.
me coming back 5 times, but it's
Love
what
you too,
I have
bro.
experienced that is picked up by people who follow me. And a prime example, I always say, I was watching a 5-year-old on television. He was about to play the violin. And the words he said really hit me in the heart, because he said, when I first time I saw a violin, I just felt so attached and attracted to it. I ran over and grabbed it and hugged it. Now, I know that in that kid is a violinist.
Yeah.
So that's why he ran over and grabbed it. And at 5 years old, is standing there on television in front of an orchestra playing a violin.
Yeah. We've all seen that too.
You know, you leave me at the piano for 3 years, I can't, you know, work it out. But I would paint portraits and not have a problem. You know, I'm sure there's also an artist in me. And that's another reason I became a surgeon. I want to use my hands and help people. But I think
he keeps going back to helping people, but I gotta talk about something that I can't put off anymore.
Do it, bud.
Right here, it's on the screen.
Well, I've written 2 books and I was a collaborator in those, but now I'm actually writing the book on my own, and it has been a lengthy write because I keep changing. And so I intentionally am not writing this book quickly because I'm writing it based on observations and things as they unfold, as they occur to me. And I actually started writing the book, and I'm not the least bit ashamed of it. I started writing this book in 2006. And I'm most of the way done now, but it seems that I'm at some point going to have to just call it good and then make room for a second book, because new and powerful things keep occurring. And I'm so glad that I haven't finished the book yet, because I want those things in this book.
Yeah.
But I've been asked for many, many years about a book, and it does feel that that's just a part of my inevitable visit here to the earth is to make sure that books are left behind when I'm not physically around anymore.
You definitely, dude. You have to have. I mean,
yeah. Thank you, Charles, for asking about that.
Yeah. So I don't know who Carl Loop is, but he sounds interesting. Monday Reimagined.
Title sort of speaks for itself, you know.
Yeah. That's awesome, Robert. Yeah, everybody should write their book, man. Everybody. It was honestly the most life-changing thing I ever did. Like it was life-changing for me. And Charles is right, dude. You've got a lot to share. And it'll instantly be a #1 best-selling book.
Well,
not that you care about that. I know you don't, but you know.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Yeah. Let's keep watching Dr. Bernie.
Let's do it.
All of us need to understand that we're multiple personalities, let's put it that way, and to pay attention to our desires, what rewards us, what's uncomfortable.
Hey, we got to stop it one more time because we have to acknowledge our first time watcher. We'll get right back into it, but we have to acknowledge.
Thank you for being here. Is it
Shia? Probably Shia.
Shia
Lopez. Thank you for joining us, Shia. We go into a lot of really cool stuff, and we make sure that our audience is acknowledged. And we are called the Ken and Glenn Show, and we do
It's Kaya.
Oh, Kaya. Okay.
Or is it Kaya?
You're going to have to phonetically spell it out for us.
Is it Kaya or Kaya?
Kaya, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, and is Robert just being friendly, or does Robert know Kaya? Anyway,
I don't know.
Well, if you dropped the K from it,
put a lot of exclamation points.
If you put a K on it, it would be kayak. So maybe it would be Kaya. Yeah, there it is, Kaya.
Yep. Well, look at that.
But we do a show on Sunday evenings, also called the Ken and Glenn Show, with a guy named Scott that we started on Easter Sunday, and that's every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we will be back tomorrow night. But please watch this and enjoy. Oh, that's what happened, is Robert brought her in. Thank you, Robert. Thank you.
Wow. Right. Look at this. We got Nate. I mean, Nate Martin is so obsessed with us that when we said we're no longer streaming to Twitch, he's like, all right, fine. I'll go over to stupid Facebook and watch these guys.
I love it. So we just got an infinitely wise guest that we are parading around tonight, named Dr. Bernie Siegel, and enjoy him. Here we go.
Yeah. Dr. Siegel is incredibly famous. He's a legend. He's written 19 books. He's amazing. Watch this. What about, I mean, because you're talking about things that go against a lot of traditional Christian beliefs. I know for sure. And I hear you. I think you're spot on, but there are a lot of people that may watch this or hear you and read about this and go, no, we live once and then we go to heaven or we go to hell. And
I was going to say, what goes to heaven is your consciousness. People talk about going to the light and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the other is a line from Maimonides. I always like to share from 1,000 years ago. He said, disease isn't a loss. Well, is a loss of health. It's not God punishing you or giving you something,
right?
But it's a loss of health. And our job is to help our neighbor find what they have lost. Because I won't mention names, get into more trouble, but some world-renowned clergy will say things like, when people ask, does God want me to have cancer? Not necessarily. I thought, what are you talking about? Not necessarily. Well, supposing you win the lottery and you stop going to church and you got all the money you need and what you want, God will say, oh, I know how to get him back. I'll give him cancer. And I mean, to listen to clergy say things like that just blows
Yeah.
my mind.
I'm
It's
with you.
the cost of health. And the old statement was, if people, Maimonides again, which is so true, if people took as good care of themselves they do their animals, they'd suffer fewer illnesses. And literally, I know people who have written letters to Cat Fancy magazine saying, Doug and I now smoke in the yard. We're not killing our cats anymore. We hope you're not killing yours. Because her cat died of lung cancer, the other's having trouble breathing. And when I read that, and the magazine didn't say, hey, folks, you're killing yourselves, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But
Wow.
we need, and see, this is the gift. Love yourself. Imagine having polio as a child and having a resulting deformity. And then you develop a neurological disease and you're dying. She said, I don't want to die hating my body. So I laid down naked in front of a mirror and started loving myself. And she said, inch by inch, I would love my toes, my feet, my ankles. And guess what happened? Her disease went into complete remission and she didn't die. But think of that, people going in front of a mirror and saying, I love you. What a difference. Yeah. Versus.
You know, that is so you don't hear physicians talk like you are. I mean,
Well, that's why I haven't had a normal life. Okay.
Right.
I had parents who loved me. I grew up with do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Troubles, God is redirecting you. Something good will come of this. And you're here to help make the world a better place for people. And that's because my parents, I mean, went through very difficult times, escaping from Russia. My father's father died of tuberculosis, leaving a big family with nothing. So he said, I learned what was important about life. And so they were wonderful people who drove me nuts as a kid because I wasn't looking for philosophy. Ma, I had a horrible day at school. God is redirecting you. Something good will come of this. Ma. You know, and Norman Vincent Peale, his statement, he said from his mother was, Norman, if God slams one door, further down the corridor, another will be open. Yeah. But see, that's why you end up who you are. You're growing up with that kind of therapy. Yeah. And you find out, you know, my mother was right, because things would happen and you'd say, well, I've always called spiritual flat tire. You get a flat, and I've had these things happen on the way to the airport. And, you know, well, you're going to miss your plane. But I'd say, yeah, but what if you find out the plane you missed crashed?
Right.
I'm going to take the tire home and hang it up in the living room, you know? So I'd say, I try to live discernment.
Right.
And many times, just when I'm thinking I'm going to miss the plane, some guy pulls up and says, yeah, you need help? And they change the tire in 2 seconds, you know, which I never have done. Yeah, because what was funny, this lady was driving us to the airport and she said, oh, the jack is in my husband's car. Thanks, lady. That's when a guy pulled up and changed the tire in 2 minutes and we made the plane. And again, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's message to me, Botany, there are no coincidences. And what is she trying to say? That, well, what Jung said, the future is unconsciously prepared long in advance and therefore can be guessed by clairvoyance. So I got on one plane where they said, we're going up to Canada. Well, there's a blizzard up there. We don't know if we can land at the airport because of conditions. So we need volunteers to leave the plane so we have extra fuel. Well, by the time the pilot finished this scary message, everybody in the plane got off the plane except for my wife and I and another couple. And so while we were flying, we were talking to the pilots and, you know, we were just a small group of people. Yeah. And then I hear the pilot say, yeah, I've got my next flight. And I said, that's the flight we have to get on. He said, well, they'll be holding it for me, so you don't have to worry. And I thought, who figured that one out? And when we got to the airport, they were telling me, well, that left an hour ago. No, it didn't. Here's the pilot, because we walked together. And those are the things that really amazed me.
Yeah.
Things. I had a flat tire the other day at our town dump. I hit some kind of nail or something. Who pulls up behind me? Hey, I'm your neighbor. Let me help you. And working on changing the tire and things like that. And it's like, how do we both end up at the dump at the same moment? And I've got help automatically.
Serendipitous. It's all there's serendipity everywhere. And I think that when you're looking for it, you find it, and you look for it in life. Glenn, I just had a thought.
Yes.
I had a thought that, let me see if I can put this into words, because he touched on a lot of things in that little segment we just showed. But if fear of hell and fear of the devil or fear of God, if that did not exist, organized religion could not exist.
Largely true, my friend.
I don't think that, like, I think about, like, there's a saying in the recovery movement that religion is for people who are afraid of going to hell. Spirituality is for those of us who've already been there.
I've heard that, and I like it very much.
It's one of my favorite sayings. So I just think about, like, how much fear do people live in? God, the way I view God is just pure love. That there's I don't see God as punitive anymore, even though that's what I was brought up to believe.
Mm-hmm.
That God is going to punish me. God is out to get me. No, my life will be. I mean, it's a fundamental truth, man. If you're a good person, you're gonna have good things happen in life.
I completely agree with you, and I want to play yes and add this. I have 2 children. There's not really much children left in them anymore because we had them so young and we grew up together with our kids. But my daughter is 37 and our daughter's 37 and our son is 40. And they both live on the West Coast where they were both born. So they didn't have any Texan in them. I had already relocated to Los Angeles. But that being said, I'm going to tell you, Ken, as a dad, and I know you were a dad as well. As a dad, the absolute last, not one of the last, I do not wish to be misquoted or misunderstood, the last thing in the world that I would want for my children, either one of them, is for them to be afraid of me. It's the last thing. In fact, it's a no thing because it's not an option.
Right.
That page got torn out of the playbook of life a long time ago. Yeah. I would not want their interactions with me to be motivated by fear. I would not want choices they make in their own lives to be motivated by fear that I was going to withdraw or withhold my love in any way, shape, or capacity. I couldn't agree with you more, man. It's love only and completely, and at a level of enormity that you're going to have to spend some time to wrap your mind around it, how endless and huge it is, and then live in that bandwidth. And I think what it comes down to, if I can be so bold, I think we're going to have to return to the original teaching, which was man created in the image of God, instead of the reverse, which we now seem to have, which is God created in the image of man. So now we seem to be casting these characteristics onto God as though, for example, that God has some sort of hearing problem. I remember a church that I spoke at, and you know that I speak at churches a lot. I spoke at a church in Michigan years ago, And they spent the first 7 minutes announcing to God, I'm not kidding, a 7-minute long song announcing to God what his worth was. They were telling God, you are worthy. And they told it to him for 7 minutes as though he needs their validation of his worthiness and as if he has a hearing problem. I'm serious. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy. And I'm thinking, kids, you've got this so wrong. For starters, God really is probably good at being God. That's how God got the name God, and probably doesn't need you to remind him, it, her, she, they, whatever. And I'm trying to address all of our body of listeners out here, but I'm guessing that God does not need you to announce to God that God is worthy. I mean, that's so bass-ackwards. It blows my mind. In the same way, you've heard my campaign, and I've done many a sermon on the idea, and then we'll get back to Dr. Siegel. But we said we would do this as we would have our own narrative to sort of piggyback on his. But that one of my biggest beefs with the practice within worship, places of worship, okay? And I am an attendee myself, but I've been to so many that I'm kind of the church of the open-minded, because I was raised Southern Baptist. And then when my mom divorced and remarried a Jewish man, I was raised in a synagogue. And then I studied with the Baptist. I studied with a Jehovah Witness. I started going to a New Thought church and married a Presbyterian, and then read up on Buddhism. And I've been around, and I see it as really all the same. And each section, some more so than others, trying to convince others that they have some sort of monopoly on God and that they are the actual chosen people, which would imply that everybody else isn't. And that always struck me as
screwed. We're chosen. You're screwed.
Right. We're the chosen ones. And unless you see it our way, you're in big trouble. And I thought I could picture God actually going, you have got to be kidding me. Really? Really? Hey, do me a favor. Quit acting as my spokespeople. Could you do that? Could you do that? Could you just stop with that as though that's my message? Not my message. My message is much more inclusive, not exclusive.
Right.
And don't be a bonehead is what it amounts to. So the thing that I talk about in church, Ken, a lot is instead of asking for strength, and I confronted a minister in Phoenix with this years ago. He was a member of one of these magnificent, large churches, huge congregation. And I asked him after service on a Sunday, I was visiting his church because I was going to be speaking there. And I said, do you know what the most commonly prayed for thing is in America? And I can't really speak to the rest of the world, but the most commonly thing prayed for. And he said, what's that? And I said, you prayed for it twice in your service today. He said, what? I said, it's strength. And he wasn't even leading. He had the week off and sat with us during the service. The co-pastor was teaching and preaching on that Sunday. And I said, so you are saying, gimme, gimme. You are saying, Lord, give us the strength. And for some reason, it's often with a Southern accent, these ministers, but it's like, Lord, give us the strength. Lord, if you would just give us the strength, Lord, give us the strength. And I said, when you say, Lord, give me the strength, it presupposes that hasn't already occurred. It also presupposes that God is an inadequate creator, because why else would he need your humanized notes? Why would you need to tell him what to do if he's God? If he truly is the allness of all things that ever were, is, or ever shall be, he's not going to really need your tips on creation. Probably not going to need your notes on whether or not you need strength. And so beginning at about age 9, which puts this at 52 years ago for me, I stopped praying for strength because it struck me as ridiculous.
Yeah,
it did. And what replaced that teaching, Ken, is to instead say, thank you for the strength you have given me, dear God, for what I am facing right here and right now. Thank you versus give me. With thank you, it is eminently accessible. You can tap in to the bank account of strength right here, right now, because you are strong. You are not weak. Or you can live in the lane where you sit around going, gimme, 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 and all you're doing is play acting the role of a weakling. You're pretending that you were weak, and you were not designed to be weak. It's
Amen.
insulting. It's insulting to your creator for you to play act the role of someone who is weak. It's a lie. And if you're experiencing weakness on some level, it's because you bought into someone else downloading onto you that you are weak. And instead, try saying thank you for the strength instead of give me strength, and watch what happens to your life.
Amen. I've said it for years, dude, that, I think that religions exist because human beings and our finite brains we can't it's impossible almost for a human being to believe in something that we can't see, like in physical form. Or thousands or millions of years or whatever, we've put a face on God instead of just a knowingness that God is God. God, I heard somebody talk about this one time, and I agree wholeheartedly. My God is not on an ego trip. My God in fact, has no ego. He doesn't need me to tell him how great he is. He's God. For the love of God, he's God. He knows. Like, hey, and I heard this guy goes, he goes,
I'm going to be the entire congregation right now for you, Ken.
No, now applause. Exactly. So, but he goes, imagine this. For those of you who have children, imagine walking into a room and your children that you love with every single bit of your soul, your children are praising you. They get down on their knees and they tell you how great you are. We're not worthy to be in your presence. What would you say to your kids? You would say, get up and go do something. Go get a job or something. Do something. Like, what are you doing? I don't need you to. I'm your dad. I'm good. I don't need you to tell me how great I am. And I think that for me, just knowing that God is love, and I think that it was Kaya that said up here, I want to find it. I can't find it. Right here. And I'm going to go a step further and say God hungers for nothing. But Kaya says God hungers for us to have a personal relationship with him. And again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I don't know, but here's the thing. I think that quit committing intellectual intercourse to yourself. I'm not sure I know what that means. I think that for me, my God, the God that I believe in, which I've believed in my entire existence, I don't think God has an ego. I don't think God needs me to tell God how great he is. Like, he knows.
Yeah. Well, I felt the same way when I was listening to the endless recitation of "You are worthy of our praise." And I went to the mindset of God, and all I could come up with was, yeah.
Yeah.
Ken, it was like God sitting there going, yeah, what's your point? Right. I am worthy. Let me get this straight. I am worthy of your praise. Really? Come on, goofballs, get on with the service. I'm curious what your idiot minister has to say.
Oh, God.
No, I'm serious. It's like, really? This opens with you telling me how worthy I am? Holy geez. I'm going to really have to fasten my seatbelt and hear this message. It's going to be good.
Well, and I think, again, and I've heard many people talk about this, and this is huge, man. Because it goes back to something I've said many, many times, and that is, a man convinced against his will is of the
same opinion still. I can say it with you in perfect sync.
So it's like this. Let's say you're born into a tribe in Zimbabwe, and your entire life you're brought up to believe in the I don't know what religion that is. Let's just say Muslims or whatever the religion is, right? Like, you're brought up to believe this thing your entire life. Everything around you is about the prophet Muhammad and everything that you have been taught, and the Christians are infidels or whatever. Like, I don't know that. I don't know, but like, you're brought up in this environment where everything that you're taught from the moment you are drinking breast milk, you're taught that this is your religion, this is your belief system, this is what you have to believe. And why do you have to believe it? Because we said so. And so you're programmed and you're given these belief systems. Tony Robbins talks about not only are you given the tabletop of belief systems, but you're given the legs that are the power that holds your belief system up. And it'll withstand so much pressure. And the stronger your belief system is, the less BS of anything else you're ever going to be open to.
Yep.
Hence the thing I just said, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So you take somebody like that and you say, well, wait a minute. No. You got this whole Muhammad.
Yeah, tell them they're wrong.
It's all, you got it backwards, dude.
Right.
It's Jesus. Jesus died on the cross for you, man. Like, you got to understand this, and this is why. Or then a Buddhist comes along and goes, let's just meditate, or, or whatever it is. Like, there's all of these different religions. And I think that it all comes down to whoever has the most embedded belief system.
We should do, I just had this thought. We should do a talk show, Ken.
On what?
No, I mean, you and I should do a talk show at some point, like get on the internet and share our ideas.
I think we should do that.
It just feels like, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking we should go on the internet and talk about substantive matters.
Why don't we go live right now? You want to?
Let's do it. I bet you an audience would listen. This is certainly interesting stuff, if not controversial.
Hold on. Doug wants me to read his scripture. Hold on. Believe in God. Believe that he is, and that he created all things, both in heaven and in earth. Believe that he has all wisdom and all power, both in heaven and in earth. Believe that man doth not comprehend all things which the Lord can comprehend. Okay.
So my reaction to that is yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yes. What else is there to be said? That all makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. But this is not so often, if I may say so, Doug, and I am widely experienced in this. I have traveled extensively down religious lanes. This is not how the message of love is downloaded more often than not, but rather the game of I'm right and you're wrong tends to be the game that's played spiritually. And it's because people feel inadequate unless they can convince themselves that they are the ones that are right. That allows them to feel more empowered. It elevates their sense of self-righteousness when they can condemn everybody else, which is not their job in the first place. It's not up to them, right? And someone's spiritual destiny is not up to you. Nope. If you believe in God at all, this is just for people who believe in God at all. There are so many matters that are really God's business, and they're not yours, and they're not mine. And our job is to make sure that we are demonstrating what love looks like in action in this world. In other words, when someone watches the way we behave, when someone listens to our voice, when someone connects with us, what does it feel like to be in our midst? If they feel like there has been a visitation, that they have had some time connecting with a spirit that feels like God is being radiated in their midst, then you're doing the work. That's the work. It means you're dialed in and you're showing up in the way your creator would have you show up. But there are so many people that think they're going to actually fool God into kidding God about what a joke, the idea of even fooling God, and that they're going to live their life their way, which has nothing to do with love. And then in the 11th inning, they're going to be able to say a big hocus pocus and overlook the entire manner in which their life was lived. I personally don't believe that, because I don't think the cosmos is run by an idiot. I don't think the cosmos is run by a child. I don't think the cosmos is run by an insecure being. I think we are playing in the ballpark of infinite wisdom, and we have been gifted with access to that wisdom. So I completely agree with that verse. What I don't agree with is human beings playing the part of weaklings. Maybe that's because I've been gifted with being an actor my whole life. And one of the things I wonder is why on God's green earth does anyone sign up for the role of playing an extra in the matter of their own life? Their own life. It's their life script. It's their life to star in, and they show up as a friggin' lineless extra. And they let everybody else pull the strings and everybody else determine their destiny, let everybody else in every other circumstance determine their worth, and they never draw their sword in the sand and take a stand for strength of who it is they are to go ahead and fully express as you were designed to express. It is available to all people.
Yep.
And we just have to decide that that's the truth, or it isn't, or we get to play the weakling victimized game, which there's not a big future in.
I think it comes down to, Glenn, what Dr. Bernie said. And he said, I think so far, two, maybe three times. And that is, my life is my message.
Yes.
And if your life is going...
Is that not exactly what I just said?
It is exactly what you
absolutely
just said. Your life is your message. If your life consists of trying to prove everybody else wrong, especially when it comes to spiritual beliefs, religions, and like, man, I don't know how anyone could see that as a fruitful life, going out to prove other people wrong. Just I don't.
No future in that.
I don't see how.
I know that the beliefs I've wound up with, Ken, after much exposure, they leave me living my life with a sense of great peace and a sense of things being available. I see everything in the world as accessible. I see things as doable. I don't see anything as far-fetched. Let me repeat that. Anything as far-fetched. And so you start living in this lane of havability where you see that true faith, if I may be so bold, turns the supernatural into the very natural, the extraordinary into the ordinary, meaning you learn to expect miracles because that's the level of faith with which you live. And all of a sudden, the soil in which your life has been planted is the very same soil that cultivates the growth of miraculous circumstances. I mean, that's kind of the way it works, you know?
Yeah.
Let's journey back into
Dr. Siegel.
Dr. Siegel.
Let's do it, man.
Well, I don't look. I mean, but you have to have a quiet mind.
Right.
I mean, somebody's asking me, can you talk about the importance of self-talk?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about
What is that? What do you mean by self-talk?
The conversations you have with yourself.
Oh, I hear voices. It's not me. That's God talking to me. Yeah. I mean, the day my father was going to die, the voice said to me, how did your parents meet? And I mean, literally, I hear a voice. I'm taking a walk. I hear the voice say, how did your parents meet? I don't know. Ask your mother when you get to the hospital. So when I walk in, see, and that's George again. I mean, my thought was you walk in the hospital room, your father's in bed, your mother's sitting there, and give him a hug, say, I love you. What does George say? How did you two meet? And I was about to apologize to say, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude. I want to. And my mother started telling the story. And it ended in, your father lost the coin toss and had to take me. She was with a bunch of girls she didn't know who had a terrible reputation. She was on vacation and on the beach.
Wow.
And that was their first date. The second date, he took her for a little boat ride in Central Park. And the guy yelled, you pay before you take the boat. So he let go of my mother in the boat and she fell into the lake. And I mean, I'm thinking, what the hell do you keep going out with this guy for?
Yeah, right.
But he died laughing, looking so healthy. I thought he was going to say, I'm not dying today. This is fun. I'll see you tomorrow. But when the last person, see again, no coincidence, consciousness, he knows who's coming. Not because we told him, he knows. The last person who said they were coming walked in, we said her name. He took his last breath and died, looking so healthy. It was incredible. Because the color came back in his face, his big smile, the
Wow.
And again, even though you'd say he was basically in a coma, he can hear, and people hear you under anesthesia too. I learned that one and started talking to them in the operating room, and it affected. You could, believe me, I did all these things. You could say to somebody, "I want your heartbeat to be 72," and the monitor would go to 72. You know,
Wow.
and they'd have an arrhythmia. I'd say, "Oh, listen to the beautiful music. What a nice steady rhythm," and the heart would go back to normal. And one, the most extreme,
And this is in the OR?
OR. Yeah, see, at
Holy
first, all the anesthesiologists saying, "Bernie, what are you talking for? They're asleep. They're anesthetized." But then when a patient wakes up and says, "I didn't hear the end of the joke," the anesthesiologist said, "What are you talking about?" And it was a joke that he had said in the operating room, and the patient said it, but he said, "I didn't hear the last line." But this one,
Wow.
and again, I don't make up stories. The anesthesiologist said, "Bernie, his heart stopped." And so he started working to try to get it going again. After a minute, he said, "I can't. I'm going to call for a stretcher to take him to the morgue. I can't get his heart started again." So Crazy Siegel, I yelled out loud, "Johnny, it's not your time yet. Come on back." And his heart started beating again and came back to normal. And the anesthesiologist, I never forget him saying, "Bernie, I love working with you." Because I'm so nuts, things could be made to happen.
That is so awesome, man. I see.
It's mind body. Let's put it that way. So keep talking to yourself, loving yourself. Because even my image, I mean, I often think, who's that guy in the bathroom? Because I'm not him. I'm still this like young, crazy kid. And what's he doing here?
Your first book is called Love, Medicine, and Miracles, right?
Yes.
And that was in the 80s?
Yes. That was sharing the experiences of people who didn't die when they were supposed to. Say,
wow.
And leave your troubles to God. You see, when people did, like talking to yourself, people did what made them happy. They accepted the fact, "Oh, I have a few months to live. Okay, then I'm not going through all this crazy treatment. I'm moving to Colorado. I'm getting a dog. I'm going to go home and make the world beautiful." That was from a landscaper. They were all, well, a lawyer. I'm going to go play my violin, because he became a lawyer because his parents wanted a lawyer.
Wow.
And none of them died, see, when they were supposed to. Or buying a house on the ocean, this multimillionaire. It was fascinating. His son drove me crazy. "You got to help my father." And when they drive you crazy, I do. See, I know that the intensity they have. So we met down in Florida, and we talked, and he bought a house on the ocean, which he could have afforded for a decade or more, and meditated with my tapes and things like that. And instead of dying in 3 months, he lived over 5 years. Oh, and the other thing I got such a kick out of, I'm back in Miami, and he's going to introduce me, he said, at the talk. So he shows up looking so casual at this big fancy lecture. I said, "Why are you dressed like that?" He said, "When they tell you you have a few months to live, you cancel the dress code at work." He said, "I told all my employees, I don't care what you wear, just come to work." And
awesome.
For 5 years, and had a real impact on the hospital, because they realized it's not their wonderful treatment. And one lady who came up from North Carolina, because a relative of hers was helping my father-in-law who had injured his spinal cord, and she said, "Oh, Dr. Siegel's making people well all the time. Come on up here." I said, I can't promise people things. What are you talking about? And anyway, she came up, and she had leukemia. And I said, "I'm a surgeon, so I'll get an oncologist to see you."
I just want to point out, we don't have to come back on camera, but I have to point out that this guy is so in tune that he has two different telephones going off, if you guys didn't notice. And he did not miss a
break stride.
single beat. Not a beat. He didn't grab his phone and silence it. He didn't say, "Oh, this damn phone," and nothing. He did not miss a beat. I just have to point that out. When you can do that, man, you're on a different level. I'm sorry. You just are. That's incredible, man.
Hey, we're loving these comments, guys. Keep them coming while we're listening, because we're both able to read the chat room.
Yeah.
Bring them in. We love them.
Love it.
I admitted her to the hospital, sat with her on the bed, hugged her, and so forth. Then an oncologist friend comes over, who by now had learned about my crazy patients, and said, "Bernie, I agree with her doctor. She has about 2 months to live. But I know you and your crazy patients, so I'll give her hope." And then he'd had her come in each week to get some chemo, and he'd send me a note. "Doing well. Doing very well." By the 6th week, the note said, "In complete remission." And her answer was, "Oh yeah, Dr. Siegel sat on my bed and hugged me. I knew I'd get better." That's when you realize, who the hell knows what's going on in the body, but how much the mind has to do with the message your body is getting. Yeah.
I'll bet you never.
This one, the guy who went to Colorado, I called up a year later to say, "Why didn't you invite me to the funeral? I told you I want to come, and I know him well." He answered the phone. He said, "It was so beautiful here, I forgot to die."
Wow.
That's why, I have no trouble giving people hope that when they're not worried about failing, then we can do something with them.
I love what Charlie.
Answer a call-in question. It's a good one. Is there something you say to yourself each day? Is there something that you pray or that you meditate on each day? I talk to God every day. There's something called hispoditus, Hispodetus. It's like walking in nature and talking to God.
What is that again? HIS?
I came across that word, hispoditus, Hispodedus. And I take the dog. I've had dogs forever. Our house was a zoo. That's one of my books too, Love Animals and Miracles. But what they teach us and everything else. But we go out for a walk in the morning, and I talk to God every morning. And I learn what I'm like by how I talk to God. You know what I mean? At first you may start.
Well, Darlene, I think, Glenn, you want to tell her
I
how
know
she
exactly
got here?
how she got here. She got here because it was divinely appointed for her to be here. And she simply did this, my brother Ken. Darlene kept her appointment. This is what happens when we keep our appointments. So you just kept an appointment. That's all. You didn't fight it off. You didn't resist your instinct. Your instinct said, let's watch this and see what this is about. And so you're here. And it's that simple.
Who are these two guys? Man, that guy with the least amount of hair looks really familiar. Who is that dude? He looks familiar. Have I seen him on?
If it weren't for the beard, I'd swear he was on 24 for like 7 years.
Has he been in any movies?
That's funny. Yeah, but this is the love of my life, as you know.
Yes.
And this is the love of my life. I've been making movies for 45 years, all of which has been tremendously fulfilling. And I fully intend to do it as long as I breathe air. However, it is not my number one priority. Connecting with other human beings and sharing love is what I am called to do. And acting has given me that privilege, and it's given it to me at a global level. So I'm most assuredly grateful. I am. We are getting into the home stretch of this talk, by the way, and I will say that it ends big, really big.
Real big. So, hey, do us a favor and share this out if you would.
Yeah, because we still have probably at least a half hour left to go. So hang in there with us.
Yeah.
And it's going to be worth waiting for. I promise you that. And
Yeah.
may I, Ken, I'm really feeling it. I've been feeling so much spirit today. Let me add this. I want to look right at everybody and say this. What are you in such a hurry for? What are you in such a hurry for to not be fully present in the moments that are unfolding in your life spontaneously? Why are you avoiding those? Why do you need to control it and orchestrate every beat to go exactly as you pre-designed it? Where's the room in that for spontaneity? Some of the greatest things that await your life are going to be the things that occur spontaneously. And if you will just embrace that, just close your eyes and breathe that in, that there is an entire universe of developments out there that will visit your life when you set the fullness of all of your plans aside. You've left no room for spontaneous development. You've got your whole life planned, every inch of it, no room. If it wasn't on the schedule, we can't do it. And I got to say, some of the greatest decisions I've made in my life, they never made the schedule. In fact, I don't even have a schedule. I have one of the busiest lives in the world, don't have a schedule. The only three things in my week, Ken, the only three things that are planned are my teaching on Mondays and Tuesdays and our Sunday night talk show. So, and that's only for 90 minutes on a Sunday evening. The rest of my Sunday is up for grabs. All day Monday I teach and night for 13 hours, and the same is true on Tuesday. So I've got a work ratio of 2 and 5, which is what I dreamed of it to be instead of 5 and 2. And then all of the other days, man, do I ever embrace the spontaneity of my life. And, Arnold Schwarzenegger in his book on manifestations, and you know that I know him personally. I did a movie with Arnold, and I got to sit and talk at length with him about his approach to creating.
And who taught you not to name drop?
I learned not to drop names from Robert De Niro. I love that. But it's true that Arnold Schwarzenegger, he came and taught my acting class for me, as did Kiefer. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, what he said is, my number one rule is you've got to learn to ignore all of the naysayers. Keyword here, all. All. He didn't say some, he didn't say most. You have to ignore all of them. So don't overplan your life. Make some plans for sure.
Yeah.
Make plans in specific areas where you would like to achieve specific things. But listen, if your entire life is governed by a calendar, go burn that calendar. Go light it on fire and find your spontaneity. And then be wide open so that when people show up, you can go, aha, I see why you're here. You're here because we're supposed to explore one another's hearts and minds. We're supposed to grab a coffee together. We're supposed to have a phone call. It is still funny, isn't it, Weldon? We do it at least once a week. We tell the old Robert De Niro joke, and it always pleases. But you just have to leave room in your life for the unplanned, wonderful developments that are coming your way. I heard it said this way. Have you noticed that a waiter never fills an already filled cup? They never come by and offer you what you're already filled with.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to drink from your cup of busyness and leave some room for life to go, watch this. Let's pour some of this in his glass and watch the magic. Let's pour some of this in her glass and watch her smile. All right, let's listen to the last stretch of his talk.
Let's do it.
Start out, oh, you got to cure me. You got to make me well. I need money. I need it. Now I'm thankful for God, for all I have been given. And this I've learned from God. A perfect world is not creation. It's a magic trick. You're here to live and learn. See, if we had a perfect world, everybody would be bored out of their mind. But when you're here participating, I always say, I'm being God's right arm. Oh, and I'll help everybody get into heaven. Because when you get to heaven, there's an admission line. You get to the head of the line, they say, "You're next. How do you want to be introduced to God?" "I am a New York lawyer." Come back when you know who you are. Okay.
Right.
Next person. "How do you want to be introduced to God?" "Well, I'm one of God's children." "Come on in." See? Or, "I am God." "Yes, come on in." But when you're busy telling everybody how important you are, and that's something I get a kick out of, in a sense, in cemeteries, because the men so often have all their famous things they did. "I went to this college, high honors. I ran this business. I had a lot of money,
Yeah.
and then next to them, it says, and, his wife. It never says her husband, it's always, but the wife is living 10 or 20 years longer, and there's nothing there about where she went to college or how many kids she had or what she did,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her husband. That is so funny. So wow. So I do want to talk a little bit about the new book that you have that's being released on, and I'm
Right.
gonna throw it on the screen here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, 3 Men, 6 Wives.
What I call, the book is what I call a true novel, or like
Hey, Ken,
it's
can you freeze
fiction
it?
in the sense of the characters I made, but not.
I just want to say this for anyone who does not know our show and what it stands for. When we promote a book or when we promote anything, there is no kickback that comes our way. We promote something because we believe in it. We promote someone's voice. We promote their stance in life. We believe that they are intrinsically good and or come from love, and they are here to help our world. Just know that. We don't have a deal with these people. We believe in the doctor. We love his message.
I have to be transparent though, because I am an Amazon influencer. So I have an Amazon store, and I have some of Bernie's books in that store, along
Right.
with a lot of, when your book comes out, it'll be in my store.
But I'm saying there's no reason for promoting it other than that you believe in it.
They pay me pennies. So if
Okay.
you go to my store and buy his book, it's not a lot. So, but anyway, so yeah, in full transparency, as an Amazon influencer, I could end up making a few pennies off of any book sales, but that's not why I do it. Not at all.
I know that about you.
I know you do, but they may not.
I know, and that's why we stopped to clarify these things along the way. Let's resume, shall we?
Let's do that.
Okay.
Not in the sense of the stories that they're displaying.
Right.
Like, the one character is a surgeon, and that was my experience, with my past life, killing with a sword. And I can tell you that was one of the most emotional, traumatic things that's ever happened to me, to re-experience that, because my wife was the young woman I killed because I didn't have faith in my Lord. And originally I used that word as the Lord of my castle. But when I went to get therapy because of the emotional trauma, James Hillman, the Jungian therapist, said, "Bernie, I hear what you're saying. What do you mean? You keep saying my Lord asked me to kill the neighbor's daughter." I said, "Yes, the Lord of the castle." He said, "No, Bernie, it's your Lord." Wow. Because I remember saying, what if I don't kill her? Then I'll kill you. And that's when I said, Abraham and Jesus have always been a problem for me. Why did they allow the Lord's, decision to come about? Why didn't Abraham say, "Take me, leave the kid alone"?
Right.
But he had faith, and his kid did survive. And, I said, if I were Jesus, I would have jumped off the cross to impress everybody and said, "Do you see what I can accomplish?" But I had to learn about faith, because when I said, "What if I don't kill her? I'll kill you." Okay, I'm going. And I really felt that in this life, well, this story will tell you why. A guy buys a farm. He's plowing, hits something, pulls it up. It's a box of treasure. So he calls the guy he bought it from and says, "Here, this is on your farm. It's not mine. And the guy says, no, you bought the farm. It's yours now. And they're standing there yelling at each other. It's yours. It's yours. And the neighbor comes by and says, what the hell are you fighting about? You know, and they tell him. He said, look, you have a son. You have a daughter. Tell them to get married and give them this as a present. And when I read that story, it was like, my wife and I got married. These two lords have nothing to fight over anymore, because the land they were fighting over would be our wedding present. We could live there, and they would all be one family now.
Wow.
And we had a really special marriage. But our sense of humor, you know, I said my wife did stand up. A lot of women would say to her afterwards, they loved what she had to say. And isn't it nice? What's it like being married to him? And she said, a struggle. And they look at her, a struggle. And I always nod my head because she was bringing me up, you know.
Right.
And women would say a struggle. It's like, oh my God. But the thing I loved is when people would meet, I'd say, how many years have you been married? I said, we've had 40 wonderful years, and 40 out of 63 isn't too bad. And then again, oh,
You were married
with you. We married 63, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
We got married when we were basically kids. I was still in school. Yeah. My father was really nice because, see, he had said to me, if I don't want to help you, I'll say no. Because I didn't have any money. You know, I want to go to college. I want to go to medical school. And I would ask him, and he kept saying yes. And when I said, I feel very guilty, he said, I'll say no if I can't help you or don't want to. And then I said to him, I want to get married. So he said, okay. But I can tell you, the first apartment we lived in, my mother said, why are you living in this place? I said, because Dad's paying the rent. See, that was my guilt. I mean, an old building, no elevators, nothing, neighbors who were nuts. It was really funny.
In Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, it was in Forest Hills. Yeah,
Okay.
because my wife finally, when she finished college, went off to teach in Long Island, and I would take the subway into Manhattan to go to medical school.
Wow.
But it was, yeah, and she would bring home. We've always been into animals, and I really felt this because I killed her dog. That's what woke her up in my past life when I killed her. Her dog was in the bedroom with her. And I didn't want to be attacked by him because he got up and growled. So I killed him, and that noise woke her up because I wanted to kill her in her sleep and not have her feel pain.
And this is in a past life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's in there. You see, I mean, I'll tell you some of the story, but think, why would you become a psychiatrist? What if in your past life, what you did led to people dying or committing suicide? See?
Wow.
It could be an accident, a suicide, you know, the guilt that you're carrying. So now you want to help people. Why would you want to be head of a mafia group? Because what if in your past life, your family was attacked and murdered by another tribe? Say, well, I'm not going to let that happen this time. And I know that those are things that affect our choices. And when I said even in Ireland, I've seen so many coincidences about Ireland that I really felt the connection. I mean, one I got to mention also, a woman, one of our group members was in labor and prematurely. So she called me and said, Bernie, can you come to the hospital and help me? I'm going to have a miscarriage. So I went there, and the room was so filled with panic and grief that I screamed at everybody. I said, get out of here. Because I thought they're inducing this in her by their attitude. And every doctor, nurse, and family member, I scared the hell out of them, screaming, get out of here. So they left the room. And I got her to quiet down, meditate, start loving her body, communicate with her uterus, send it love, calm it down. And in about 15, 20 minutes, her labor stopped. Then I let everybody back in the room. Months go by, I get a phone call. Bernie, I just gave birth to a boy, and we're naming him after you, but we're Irish, so we're calling him Brady. And that was no coincidence either, you know? And yeah, as a matter of fact, I go down to the shelter. I hear a voice tell me go to the animal shelter also. And so all the dogs I adopt and cats always have a significant name. And I walked in one day. What's his name? Oh, he just came this morning. His name is Brady. You see, so I say I'll take him home.
Wow.
I wrote a book called Buddy's Candle to get people to understand that your grief when you lose a loved one puts out their celestial candle. Okay.
Hey, Roxy.
Hey, I want to tell everybody
This is the
part,
key. This is the money.
you
Roxy, if
don't
you
wanna
can
miss
last
this
5 more
part.
minutes, I'm telling you, sweet girl, you do not want to miss this story. It's beautiful.
You don't want to miss this.
Play it right now, Ken.
I'm afraid she's already
Well,
left.
I hope she hasn't.
This is
You will
the,
sleep better having heard this, Roxy.
this is the best part of the entire interview, I think. Yeah.
And after I finished the book, I went out of the house with our other dog to walk. And I heard the voice say, go to the animal shelter. So I go down there. I walk in, sitting right by the door that you enter is a dog. So what popped out of my mouth was, what's his name? Oh, his name is Buddy. He's been here less than 15 minutes. I said, I'll take him home.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And oh,
Wow.
because I learned to not tell them the names of people in the family, because my father's name was Simon, and I've had a dog named Simon, a cat named Simon, and I don't know whether they're lying to me or not, you know, because Eagle, when he says, what's his name, say Simon, and he'll take it home.
That's funny. So
I'm
this is from what this is your first fiction book that
Yes.
you've written.
What I call, it's a nonfiction novel. I mean,
Did you
what's
go back,
fictitious
Ken, or
are
no?
the people.
Okay. No, I
created
didn't.
them.
Oh, okay.
But what's
He
true are
hasn't
the
said it yet.
stories. So it is a fiction novel. But
Yeah, I was
there's
waiting
truth
for him
in
to
it,
mention the
because
candle
I say,
story.
whether
He
it's
will.
my body
will.
memories, I don't have time for all these stories, but my mother was very sick, shouldn't have a kid, couldn't deliver. They finally pulled me out after a couple of weeks of her screaming in pain in the hospital. And she said they handed me a purple melon, not a child. So they hid me in a carriage covered. And I said, Ma, how did I turn out to be reasonably normal if nobody's touching me, you're hiding me? That you know, kids can die of infections when that happens. And she said, oh, my mother took you. Thank God for grandmothers. She said, mother took you, poured oil all over you, and pushed everything back where it belonged 4 and 5 times a day. And then I realized I was the most loved kid on the planet. Can you imagine getting massaged by your grandmother 5 times a day?
Wow.
And the proof of body memories, you know, organ transplants and others. 50 years later, my wife and I go to get a massage. The husband was very busy. So he said, do you mind if my wife did one of you? I said, fine. My wife, you know, likes to have you do it. I'll have your wife. She's massaging my bald head, shaved head. And I went into a trance and went back to being a child again, because she put oil on and is massaging. It was just like that kid.
Yeah.
And I was in bliss. And after about, I don't know, 10 minutes or more, I opened my eyes and the room was filled with people. I said, what the hell are y'all doing here? Her husband was standing there at the foot of the table. He said, oh my God. He said, we thought you had a heart attack or a stroke. We couldn't communicate with you. And I said, I have a story to tell you. I went back to being a child. I couldn't talk to you. Yeah. But you see, that's why I'm different. I have had all these things happen to me.
Yeah.
And I can't deny what happened. Even if you said, how do you explain it? I don't have to explain it. I can't explain creation. It's a miracle. I don't know why leaves are green and the sky is blue, you know, but I know the intelligence. I have watched a seed paved over, grow up, push through the pavement, and blossom. And I had our whole family come to look at it. I said, here's a therapy group for you. because if you're that seed, you keep pushing, you break through. But not only that, how did the seed know which way was up? And that's when I look into it scientifically, and they say, yes, oh, seeds can sense gravity. Well, who thought of that one? And so, again, well, I say to people, what's a miracle? You cut yourself and you put a Band-Aid over it. You don't say, I'm going to bleed to death. How does your body know what to do? But there's intelligence. And that's the key. God is loving, intelligent, conscious energy. That's my definition of God. Loving, intelligent, conscious energy.
Right.
And
So
all that is needed to create.
Okay, so my question for you that I think a lot of people would ask is, how does one, I think I know the answer, so it's somewhat of a rhetorical question. For me, I've meditated for 17 years, every morning of my life. I will not miss it. I go into meditation every morning. But there's so many people that I've said, you need to learn, you just need to start meditate. You don't need to learn to meditate. It's there. Right. You just go do it. And people will go, that's crazy. What are you talking? The Bible doesn't say anything about that. Actually, yes, it does. But anyway, so how do people find that intelligence that you and I both, we know that it's already there inside of everyone? But what do you say?
You have to quiet your mind.
Right.
Stop thinking. That's the key.
Yeah.
And when you stop thinking, then the consciousness, God, can talk to you. God speaks in dreams and symbols. They go to sleep. God talks to you. I've been given information in my dreams that when I wake up, I go and do it. See? And with the drawings, that I learned again from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Simple. I drew a scene for her. Bernie, what are you covering up? What are you talking about? You used a white crayon on a white piece of paper. You didn't need the white crayon. You added a layer. And I was covering up all my feelings and emotions. See? Why is 11 important? What are you asking me that for? You have 11 trees. And there was an answer to that. So I went back to the hospital with crayons and got people to draw pictures. They would draw anatomy. They would literally tell me their diagnosis. They made a coloring book, one of the anesthesiologists, because for the kids I was operating on. And one of them, I showed him, because it says, you'll meet an anesthesiologist who's wearing an outfit that looks like green pajamas. The kid drew him in red.
Wow.
And the anesthesiologist said, oh, yeah, Bernie, his mother has muscular dystrophy. He could have an adverse reaction that threatens his life to muscle relaxants. I said, look at the last page. If he draws himself purple, spiritual color, he's going home. I'm not operating on him. You see, now he didn't draw himself purple. He drew himself, I'm not happy having an operation, and so we went ahead and did it. But it changed everybody because they saw what patients drew. Even if it's like you draw the sails on a boat and they look like breasts. You know what I mean? So even anatomy would show up, and the people didn't know the anatomy. But as a doctor, I'd look at it and boy, wow, So there were many people I operated on because of their drawing. Did they have appendicitis? And what they put on the paper says yes, or what they put on the paper said no. So I'd watch them and wait with them, and that affected everybody. And then I learned, of course, about Jung and Jungian therapists and others who there was one book called Life Paints Its Own Span by Susan Bach. I went to London to meet with her. And I never forget her saying to me, oh, Jung was fascinated by the somatic aspects. I said, yes, he's not an art therapist. He knows anatomy. He's a doctor. So he sees things that you don't see. But she showed me, life paints its own span. These were kids don't have a problem drawing pictures. They're not worried about, I'm not an artist like the mother is.
Yeah.
And so they showed when they were ready to die with, well, like one child that I was helping the mother, a purple kite, going up in the sky, or a purple balloon. And I'd say, take your daughter home and love her. She's ready to go. And I got a call because I said, there's 7 like pretty colorful things, and I don't know what they mean. But her mother called me 7 days later and said, Bernie, today's my birthday. Amber woke up and said, Mom, I'm dying today as a gift to you to free you from all the trouble. And I have her drawing hanging in my house. But you see how much that helped people. Well, like one husband, he's hanging on to a purple kite in the wife's drawing. I said to the wife, you're ready to go, but he can't let go. So let's talk to him. And he said, yeah, my wife's a nurse. She takes care of everything. If she dies, I'm dead. I don't know how to do a damn thing. So she said, I won't die. I'll train you. And I don't know whether it was a few months or weeks or whatever, but I remember him coming in saying, okay, honey, I cut the string. If you need to go, it's okay. And she said, fine, I'll die Thursday when the kids get here from California. And as I mentioned, like my father, he said, I need to get out of here. So when do you want to go? He said, I'll die Sunday. And that's when we had the big party, and he died Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Oh, and let me add this for those with loved ones. I knew my mother would never die with me in the room. Okay, because she had leukemia too, and amazed all her doctors by teaching them what her son was talking about. Because she didn't die, and I forgot she had leukemia. One day she said to me, I got to go to get a blood count. For what? Don't you remember I have leukemia? I said, Ma, you want to know something? I don't remember. Because she never acted sick. She was living the message. But I knew she wouldn't die with me in her room. See, that would be letting me down. So I said to people, I'm not being a bad son. I love my mother, but I know she won't die with me here. And sure enough, one of the times I stepped outside for 15 minutes, half an hour. I came back and they said, yep, she died.
wow. So what about the people though that think that that's it? Like, there are people who lose their children, and I know people personally that have lost a child that they live in this sadness and grief for the rest of their life.
I wrote Buddy's Candle. What are you doing to your loved one when you're walking around grieving and miserable all the time? They're looking down saying, hey, come on, enjoy life. Don't do that. Look what you're doing to me. You're putting my candle out with your tears. See?
Oh,
that's a line from the story that
just gave me chills.
I went to heaven, and because I was grieving over my father's death. And the angel said, sit down, Bernie. Here's a parade of fathers who have died this month. And they all came by carrying this gorgeous candle, beautiful robes. And I said, hey, look, there's a guy coming with a dark candle. And the angel said, so go light it. And I run up, and it's my father. I said, Dad, I'm here to light your candle. He said, they do, but your tears keep putting it out.
Oh, my God.
That is why I wrote that story, see?
Wow.
And that freed me. But I can also tell you that my wife died 2.5 years ago, peacefully in her sleep. It was a shock for me because in the morning I went to wake her up and found she had died quietly that night. But she has been in touch with me since in symbolic ways. She used to kiss me goodnight. Now, how can she kiss you goodnight? Blow out a candle. I get into bed and I hear, and then I feel a breeze on my face. And there's nobody in the room.
Wow.
Okay. I hear her voice. One night, I mean, I don't remember what she said. Well, I guess I would hear her going, like she's shifting around in the bed. So I sat up and I said, do you need any help? And then I realized, hey, stupid, she's dead. But I mean, for you to get up and say that, you can imagine how much it sounded like her. And the other is finding, we were married on the 11th, and she was born on 9/9. I have found, usually I'm wearing a shirt with a pocket, and I have her picture over my heart and all the dimes and pennies in it. I could show you. But I have found dimes and pennies incredibly in a bird bath, okay? Dirty water filled with leaves. The voice said, clean the bird bath. I go over, there's a dime and a penny. But this is the one that convinces me of afterlife and the mystical at part. I make the bed when I get up in the morning, and I go around to the other side. It's still the same bed my wife and I slept in.
Yeah.
Pull everything back and tighten it up. I pick up the sheets and the blankets in my hand to pull them towards me, and they flew out of my hand and flopped over on the other side of the bed. And what's lying on the sheet covering the mattress? A dime and a penny.
Wow.
Now, there is no explanation for that. Because it's under blankets and sheets. It's not, oh, it fell out of your pocket. I'm not sleeping with money in my pocket. But
right.
It was incredible. So I know that she's around.
This is my wife.
Else is mentioning finding pennies.
That's my wife.
The grandchildren called them pennies from heaven. See, that's the part that blows my mind. I said when my mother died, I was finding all these pennies that also I couldn't explain. It's like you go to the mailbox, there isn't any penny in your driveway. You come back, you find a half a dozen pennies. So I said, this has got to be from my, and this grandchild said, yeah, they're pennies from heaven. That blew my mind. Who's this little pipsqueak to share that and say that? And as soon as he said it, okay, it's a message. And let me mention the 9. What organ in my body, mind, body, what organ in my body is going to have a problem when my wife dies? My heart. The rhythm went nuts. So I went down to the emergency room, what's called auricular fibrillation. So I go to the emergency room, and as I walk in, I hear a voice yell, put him in room 9. I'm hardly in the emergency room, and they're yelling, put him in room 9. Then they said, we don't have a room for you upstairs yet. The next day they did. It was 819, which adds up to 99, and 8 is a new beginning. Then they give you your wristband. My identification number is 8996633. And every visit number has also added up to all 9s. Once it added up to our anniversary, 7/11.
Wow.
And I was upset that day because I was always saying to the nurses, it's all going to add up to 9. And then I looked, oh, it didn't. And then I realized, oh, it's my anniversary, 7/11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I saved all those because, again, you can't explain it, in a rational way. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife says that her mom, my mother-in-law, found a penny on a busy street in Italy.
Yeah.
So, and she's all, I see this all the time. We're walking and she'll be like, oh, there's a penny from my dad. And I'm like, wow, that's just because it happens all the time.
It's a sign to you, that this is the right place and everything's okay. And especially when I go shopping, you could say, oh, well, people leave pennies, but I hear the voice say, go in aisle 4. And I go in aisle 4. And once there were 3 dimes and 3 pennies lying on the belt, and it's just amazing. But you have to see, again, you talked about meditating. You don't hear the voice if you don't quiet your mind.
Yeah.
So it's when you're either doing something, that is creative. See, what I find is, let me put it this way. If you lose track of time, that's the healthiest state you can be in. And I found that when I did portrait painting of our family and pets and everything, I had back pain and injury, and I couldn't stand up. And I noticed, then how come you can stand up and do a painting? How come we go in the operating room? And I thought, wow, that's right. I don't hurt when I'm creating or helping someone else. I could stand for hours. And then when my painting was done, it was like, oh, I got to go lie down. Or
Wow.
even literally, sometimes I'd lie down on the floor in the operating room when they took the patient out.
Wow.
But that is such a healing state.
Yeah.
Because again, you're in a trance, meditating, you're creating, and your body is in a whole other place.
That's just more evidence of what you said early on, and that is you're not this body.
Right.
You're not this body. You're
Yeah.
just you're the controller of this body, maybe.
Remember
your phone,
yelling
Glenn.
as a kid, who did that when I didn't die? Because
Yeah.
I was looking forward to dying. It was just fascinating and interesting.
Wow.
And then I don't die, and I'm yelling, who did that? I was mad. But that's when I said, oh, God makes a decision, not you, so stop yelling, you know?
Yeah. Wow.
It gave me a feeling that there must be somebody in charge, you know?
Well, Dr. Siegel, I could talk to you literally all day, and I know you I'm sure have other things going on. So I want to say again, thank you again for coming on. You're one of my heroes. Like,
You know, one closing point for all your audience. You have to be blind or deaf tomorrow. Which would you choose?
are you asking me
Yeah, you might as well answer.
if I had to be blind or deaf? I would say if I had to choose,
Yes.
deaf.
All right. Except for musicians, that's what most people choose. Let Helen Keller teach you something. I've heard of the stars of the rainbows, of the play of light on the waves. These I would like to see, but far more than sight. I wish for my ears to be open. The voice of a friend, the imaginations of Mozart. Deafness is darker by far than blindness.
Wow.
Hey, you're not going to be on this show if you're deaf. And what I learned was listen to people. When you listen, they thank you for the wonderful advice you gave them. And you haven't said a damn thing, but they have talked to themselves and heard themselves. So that's the key. I've had people literally in the office, I had to bust out laughing because I listened to a woman for 2 hours without saying a goddamn thing. And at the end of 2 hours, I never forget her saying, that is the greatest conversation I've ever had with anyone. But I knew she heard herself for the first time ever, and then went home and did what was necessary. Yeah.
Wow.
So learn to listen and listen to yourself. Keep a journal. I mean, we should come back to my next show, 365 Prescriptions for the Soul. I found a journal from 1996 that I'm reading every day again. All things that I've written, because if you keep a journal, it keeps you aware of life. And as my wife said to me, there's nothing funny in your journal. And I said, my life isn't funny, as a doctor and all the things going. And then she told me funny stories that happened at the hospital that had them all laughing at dinner. We have 5 kids. And I thought, wow, she really woke me up to keep track of the good things that happened too. And those began to go into my journal. So keep your journal, folks.
That I definitely want to have you back on. I think you and I are both co-authors in a book coming up here soon too. So that's
You'll have to pay me twice as much to come back.
done. Checks in the mail. Dr. Siegel, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Hang on, I'm going to end the live stream here, but thank you so much. You are a gift to this world and a blessing to me. So thank you. I'm
feeling good.
Good. Hang tight. Hang on for me for a minute. I'm going to end this. Thank you.
And
yeah. Show everybody your shirt. What's it say?
Stop global whining.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for being here. We'll see you guys. Thank you so Thank you so much.
So I think people might think that you were ending this live.
What's that? Yeah, we're not ending. We're still here.
Yeah, we're still here, guys.
Glenn,
Because-
I'm gonna excuse myself and let you entertain the audience for a moment.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity anyway, because I've got a serious recap that I want to offer.
I'll be right back.
Okay, go take care of your biz. So thank you guys for enjoying Dr. Bernie Siegel with us. He has moved our hearts profoundly, and we wanted to share that with you tonight. I want to share with you that the course that I have been blessed to teach for 36 years is a course I refer to as the Extra Mile. And I want to share with you right now why it gets its name as being the Extra Mile. For those of you who are still with us, and no judgment whatsoever is being passed for those that already left, but I want to say something to those of you that stayed. For those of you that stayed the distance, and Leanne, yes, I'm including you, but I understand that it's midday over in Australia. So for you night owls who chose to stay no matter what, here is something you can know is true about yourself and celebrate it. Look in the mirror and smile about this tonight. You are an extra miler. It means you go the distance. It means you don't make your decisions based on convenience. And I got to tell you, this is the trademark characteristic of successful people. So often, people will do what is convenient, and that's it. They'll do what's easy, or they'll do what's quick, or they'll do what's short. So I'll watch the program for 30 minutes, but boy, if it goes on any longer than that, count me out. Or I'll watch for an hour, or I'll watch for 90 minutes. How about I'll watch and see what happens? I'll watch and see what happens. And I understand if you have something pressing, I understand that. But let me ask you, if what's pressing is that you're simply tired, what if you knew that a breakthrough awaited you? And I'm not referring to the Ken and Glenn show. I'm referring to anything where a breakthrough might await you. If a breakthrough was potentially awaiting you, would you stay up for it? I know I would. Would you stay up well past your designated bedtime? I know I would. I know that my bedtime would officially mean nothing because there's a bigger gift awaiting me other than making sure that I get to bed at the exact time and miss out. And so often I see people are in a hurry to be absolutely nowhere, but they're in a hurry to get there. And texting is a great demonstration of this, where people will be with one another and they can't commit to the experience. So they have to be sitting there texting feverishly, not present with the person they're having lunch with, but texting somebody else. And then, you know what's interesting? They get to that person and they start the cycle all over again. And then they're madly texting the next person. So they've mastered the art of being with everyone and yet being with no one. And all I want to tell you is, if you have stilled your heart tonight to listen, to feel, to possibly chime in, to look at the chiming in of others, whatever it is, to listen to the infinitely wise words of Dr. Bernie Siegel, to listen to Ken's thoughts, to my thoughts, to consider your own. None of these in order of importance, just however they showed up for you tonight. Were you sitting and increasing and bolstering the relationship between you and you? Ken, hold on, bud. Can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, well, my earpiece just fell out from inside my Yeti mic, as long as you can hear me okay. But my point is, yes, go ahead.
What Ernest said, like, look, most people know somebody who's died that they love, that they care about.
Oh, sure.
And what Ernest said here about Bernie's comment about that he had a dream and there was the long line of fathers, and I mean, that is quite possibly one of the most powerful things that I have ever heard in my entire life. Like, I've always said, and people call me morbid. They say what, but I've always said that, mourning is a selfish act. It has, like, the person that dies, they don't feel any pain. It's not there. There's no pain. So we mourn because we miss those conversations, that relationship, what might have been, what could have been. And I think what Bernie said about us, and I'm not saying don't go through mourning, we have to go through that, but like what he said is like, let your loved ones have their candles lit in their existence in the afterlife. Don't continue to. I mean, when I die, I don't want people that love me to. I want them to go be what I've tried to be in my life. I want them to go live their life to the very, very fullest they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And don't,
that in doing so, Ken,
my light out, my
in
candle
doing
out.
so, that grants you eternal life here on the earth plane.
Right.
Because your essence carries on as you pass the torch. It's so very true. May I just continue and wrap up my thought that I was?
Yeah, sorry.
No,
sorry.
it's okay. It's okay. I was just praising the people that stayed for their commitment to basically stay tuned for the full experience, indicating that so often people are in a hurry to go absolutely nowhere. And you think, your soul can be nourished, but you won't make that a priority. And I have nothing against sports. Listen, us Texans, we love our sports. But can you imagine the wide number of people who will not give 3 hours to listening in the matter of improving the quality of their own life, but they won't think twice about giving 3 hours to a football game. And they have no dog in the hunt. I mean, they may have an emotional connection with the football team, but basically it's a whole bunch of men that you don't know, and they're dressed in a common jersey that you've been rooting for years. So in truth, to quote Jerry Seinfeld, we're cheering for the laundry. We're cheering for the laundry because different people wear that laundry every year. So we're not even cheering for the people. We're cheering for the jersey because we identify. Well, when are you going to start cheering for your own jersey, the jersey of your life? When are you going to make that your extreme priority? And when we do, what I understand is we will visit to the extent that we are surrendered, you will experience amazing levels of stamina. And he referenced that. I got to tell you, I have more energy than most of my 20-year-olds in my classes because, for one reason, I'm doing what I love. And in the 13th hour of every Monday, and in the 13th hour of teaching every Tuesday, it feels exactly like the first hour. I'm not kidding, Ken. I'm not trying to give good radio or good internet here by saying it. I am so provided with energy because I'm doing exactly and only what I believe in. Yeah. And I believe in feeding my soul. I believe in watching programming like this. I believe in learning from very wise, evolved people rather than rushing off to watch a rerun of The Resident, which is even my show, or Game of Thrones or whatever.
They can watch The Resident.
Well, but the point is we can be seen at any time. This stuff is going out live. Our TV shows are not going out live. Right. And there's something very palpable about watching a live telecast. There really is. I mean, I know that these are archived. I know they can go onto your page. They can go onto my page. They can go to the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott and watch this in 4 days or a week from now. I will tell you, it's not the same. It's not the same. It doesn't have that same palpable, interactive feeling of right here, right now. And I wish people would be more engaged in what is going on always right here, right now. What moment am I in the middle of, and why am I in a big hurry to leave it? And if you're in a big hurry to leave any moment, I don't know why you're in a hurry to go experience the moment in the first place. Like, why would you ever be in a hurry to get to something that once you get there, you're going to leave?
Yeah.
You're going to leave prematurely. You know, if I go to see a play, I'm there until the play is done, unless the play sucks. But if the play is good, then learn to make adjustments to this thing. You know, I harped earlier on this idea of plans and being so regimented that everything is ABC'd to death. I go to bed at exactly 11:30. Really? Well, what if your miracle tonight was scheduled at 11:48?
Right.
And the problem is you would miss it because you didn't know how to sniff out its approach. And we have the ability to do that as human beings. You can sniff the approach of something great as it nears you, but that ability gets snuffed out. Your sniffing gets snuffed if you are so regimented that you absolutely have to commit. Nope, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I just go to bed at 11:30. Really? So what if the wisest thing that was ever said to you was going to be said to you at the stroke of midnight? You would be sleeping through it. So I would say make your decisions more spontaneously. Listen to the within. See if there's a reason you might want to go to Topeka, Kansas for breakfast tomorrow. And I don't even know why I mentioned Topeka, but you know this about me, Ken. If I wake up tomorrow with an impulse to go to Topeka,
yeah,
that's where I'm going. And I don't even need to know why. I just know that I've been possessed with a desire to go somewhere and experience it. And for 61 years, that has been an incredibly satisfying way to live. And miracle after miracle after miracle has been granted me as a result of living that way. This is why I never, big word here, never go anywhere or ever will with a tour group, ever. Because the tour group is going to tell you what kind of experience you're supposed to be having right now. When you look over at that painting, here's what you're supposed to feel. Oh, and by the way, we'll be standing here appreciating this painting for 4 minutes. Then we have to move on to the next painting. What if I want to spend an hour? What if I want to just sit there and lose myself in Michelangelo's David?
Right.
What if I'm in an art museum and 3 pieces really floor my soul? I want to spend a very long time, and I don't want a tour director moving me through what I want to experience. I don't want a plane telling me when I need to leave. I'll leave when I'm ready to leave, and I will enter an experience when I'm ready to enter it. So I'm just not your group guy that goes to keep pace with the group. I can't stand it.
I'm with you. I am 1000% with you. So I can't, thank goodness Glenn didn't pick an Aussie accent for that.
Why? I would have been able to express the entire thing like this. I would have been able to do that. It's not a problem. I don't even need to think about the way I express myself. It's all right. It's not a big deal. By the way, Charles Coachman said something. I don't know if Charles is still here. He might be, because I think he's out in California. He said, well, thank you. Charles, can you shed some light on your comment about a 15-yard penalty?
Oh, yeah, that was a long time
ago. But I didn't even know what was I being penalized for. I'm very curious.
On you, and you got 15 yards. So,
but what was the flag thrown for is what I'm curious about. Maybe I deserved a flag, but I'd at least like the chance to defend myself.
It was something bad. Once the flag's out, dude, you can't defend it.
Don't even get me started with that nonsense. Hey, Darlene, I have news for you. You do have this energy.
Yes.
What your thought is that you don't, and that's what's governing it. Oh, you do have this energy. I will assure you, you have this energy.
It was named.
Oh, he was 15. Okay, fair enough.
That's funny.
At this point, it might be a 20-yard penalty, but we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Darlene, honey, my dear, my darling, I cannot stress that enough. You do not have to spend one more microsecond wishing you had someone else's energy. Just decide, my love, that energy is available to you right now, and quit deciding that it isn't, or that someone else has the gift that you don't have. I'll promise you, you have the energy. Just tap into that new truth, and let's replace the old truth with the new truth. Say it again for the ones in.
She said,
What? In the Baccarat back?
She meant in the back. She
spelled it like Baccarat. In the Baccarat, Glenn.
I was like, wow, is this some kind of new age?
Oh, maybe she's telling us that she's got her mind fixated on Baccarat. I don't know.
No. So
why was I too loud just then? You know what? This is passion. That's all it is. I'm Johnny Jacked Up tonight.
She's saying, say it again, man. Say it again.
I am Johnny Jacked Up. I am Frankie Feel Good. And it's real. It's not pretentious stuff.
The most spiritual growth, dude.
Spiritually themed evening
with growth, with massive growth. Like, I interviewed him yesterday morning, and I got off of there, and I was like, what just happened? Like, wow. And he's been on my show before with his grandson, but it just wasn't the same. And so, dude, what you just said, and I want to address it, Darlene, when you have a change in the conversations that you have with yourself. So instead of saying, boy, I sure wish I had Glenn's energy, or Glenn, I wish I had your energy, you do, once you say, I have that level of energy. I can do anything that I want. I am powerful. I am able. I am capable. I am strong. I am worthy.
Right.
Saying those things, having those conversations with yourself over and over and over and over and over and over and over, actually manifest those things into your life.
Well, we have two pieces of evidence of that in history, quotable pieces of evidence. So quotable evidence, one that goes all the way back to biblical days when the saying was that it is done unto us according to our faith or belief, depending on which version of the Bible you're looking at, according to our faith or belief. So in other words, whatever we're busy thinking, whatever we believe in, whatever we have faith in, that's what we experience. So if we experience that we believe someone else has more energy than we do, then that's what we get to experience. We get to experience a lesser than dosage based on perception. And then Henry Ford sort of modernized that understanding so that people could rehear it. And it was still the exact same message. He just worded it in a way that modern day ears could hear when he said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
And it's the exact same message. So whether you think you can or think you can't, you're going to get to be right with either one of those. So you might as well go ahead and decide that you can, because then you get to be right about that. I would never want any one of you to choose to be right about something it doesn't serve you to be right about. Let me say that one again, Ken. I wouldn't want anyone here to ever be right about something it doesn't serve you to be right about. Right? So be careful about what you're allowing yourself to be right about. And hopefully that makes sense. Hey, any closing thoughts from our audience? Because we do have other things to do, but we've had a fabulous time with you guys tonight. This could be a record, Ken.
I want to repeat something that Bernie said.
You bet. Is it a record for us? Have we ever gone over 3 hours?
I don't think we have, dude.
I think this is our record. This is our record broadcast tonight, guys.
Dude, fist bump. Fist bump.
You got it.
Come on, boom. There we go. Uh-oh.
No, I'm back. I just lost focus momentarily.
Yeah, come on, Glenn, focus. Here, I want to bring he said, if you don't bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will destroy you. Conversely, if you do bring forth that which is within you, that which is within you will save you.
Mm-hmm.
When
we stopped the tape at that point and reviewed it. It was that good.
It was like everybody watching this has something huge that there's, and drop a 1 in the comments. And I'm being really, really serious. Drop a 1 in the comments if you've ever had the thought to yourself, Man, I know there's something bigger that I'm supposed to be doing. I just don't know what that is, but man, I know there's something bigger. There's something bigger I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm just not doing it yet.
And let me ask for a double one, like a 1, 1, before you get too one crazy. Let me ask for a second one if you have found tonight, no joke, in any way, shape, or form to be beneficial. In other words, has this been worth listening to for you? Have you found value in it? Do you feel better off for having watched tonight? Yeah, Ernest went crazy. I love it.
Wow.
What's your very good idea, Robert? Robert Brooker says, I have a very good idea. Hello, Larry.
Of what is to come.
Yes.
Wow. I can't keep up. I can't click on all these, man. They're moving at.
So it would be remiss of me, even though I've taught this before in our sessions.
Tracy missed the best show we've ever done.
That's all right, Tracy. You can rewind it. It would be a little tough to recap at the 3-hour, 10-minute mark, but it's been solid. But Ken, it really would be, based on our spirit-driven theme tonight, it would be remiss of me if I were not to offer value by sharing this download that was a God whisper for me years ago. And I've been teaching it in the Extra Mile, and you've heard me teach it several times. It's about the 4 rooms of awareness, because it really ties into what Dr. Siegel was talking about this evening. It's all connected. So here are the 4 rooms, and I want you, these are mindsets. You could call them rooms of consciousness. And I want you to honestly ask yourself, which room do I reside in regarding yourself? Where do I live? Where do I spend the bulk of my time in terms of thought? So the first room, room 1, is the room of impossibility. Their theme word is no. And the conversation in that room sounds something like this. We could always no. Well, now what if we were to no? We could build it from that no. I'd love to start dating her. No. Well, what if I were to marry? No. And so there is an endless parade of no's that shut down. They ultimately veto any possibility of anything good occurring. And that's why it's called room 1, impossibility. Again, theme word is no. Room 2 becomes possibility. Possibility. It's neither pro nor con. It's neither forward nor backward leaning. It's neither yes nor no. Its theme word is maybe. In other words, I'm listening. Tell me more. I am in the town of Mayberville. So things are possible. Tell me more. I'm tuned in. Room 3, as we stair step our way to evolution, we start with impossibility. Now room 2, possibility. Now room 3 is probability. They see things as likely, and that is their keyword for that room. They don't even get things underway unless they see it as likely that it will bear fruit. It will have a favorable outcome. They see it as really, really likely. And the fourth and final room, which is the room of ultimate manifestation. It's the room that I so hope that you spend more and more time in each year of your life, that you spend more and more time with the ultimate goal of full-time residence in this room, room number 4. And I'm going to see if you can guess what it is. So again, for your review, impossibility, possibility, probability, and now room 4, inevitability. Their theme word is the word yes. They see things as already done. It's already a done deal. It is the room of assurance. It is the room that has no fear. It is the room that knows that our job is to simply play our part and do what it is we do, but we do not fear the outcome. Every time Ken and I do this show, I will promise you it is done from room 4 consciousness, where we expect, we don't hope, we don't wish, we don't want. We expect that, of course, it will go well. Why? Because there is no other available outcome. All the ingredients for a favorable outcome are in place. Our transparency is in place. Our purity is in place. Our love is in place. Our sincerity is in place. Our desire to connect and listen and help others is all in place. So what other outcome could there be? The answer is there will be no other outcome. Do you know that for 35 years as a speaker, I have never once taken the stage hoping it would go well? It's God honest truth. And in no way, shape, or form am I being boastful. I'm admitting a condition. I'm admitting a condition that is available to any of us when we can live in that bandwidth of expectation where you know that of course it goes well. Of course it does. What else would it do? And we don't live in that fear of, oh my God, the other shoe could fall at any table. We don't, at any point, we don't use words like jinx. We don't think, oh, I better not talk about it, because if I talk about it, I might jinx it. We don't believe in those kind of myths. We understand that, here's a phrase I've taught all my students for years. The phrase is simply this: things work out for me. Things work out for me. That's what they do. And you can even affirm that when things seem to be in a state of turmoil or chaos, or even really difficult times and hard, painful times. You still understand they work out for me. I don't need to add this to a list of something I'm going to worry about, because worry is not going to enhance the experience. Worry is not going to fix the experience. So I'm simply going to go through whatever I'm going through, whether it be joyous or whether it be painful, knowing that things work out for me. And I can prove that because in 61 years, I've been through massive losses. I've been through all sorts of career developments, and things have always worked out, and they're working out right now, and they're still working out. They're working out tonight. And so we need to release our control over it going exactly according to our plan. Well, what if you get rid of your friggin' plan and open up to a plan that's possibly way bigger, and be open to that plan carrying itself out through you and utilizing you as its vehicle? Instead of deciding in advance, it's going exactly according to my precious plan, and I'm going to line it up this way, and it damn well better go that way. And I think the universe I think it just chuckles. And what is the old saying is, we make plans and God laughs. I really believe that. I really believe it. So those are your 4 rooms. They will help you to understand them. It will help you when you're with another human being and you can see immediately, I'm serious, like within 10 seconds, you'll be able to identify, that's a room 1. That's a room 3 response. That's a room 2. That's a room 4. And you'll know. And I got to tell you, in business, you want to make sure you're partnered in the same or higher room than the one you're in. You never want to try to partner with a lower room, because that's going to be a disaster. So I want to offer that, Ken, because I've been teaching it for years. I've gotten loads of emails on it. People talk about how it changes their lives. People, unfortunately, they get sexually drawn to someone, for example, and they never stop to see what their mindset capability, or not capability, but compatibility is. They don't assess that. And so they just go, wow, I got a case of the warm fuzzies for her. And they go after it instead of stopping and saying, there is no way this works until we co-inhabit the same room. Because if I'm in room 4 and you're in room 1, vetoing everything that comes down the pike, we're in trouble.
Yep.
We're in trouble.
I have a request. I feel like there's somebody that needs to hear this part that Bernie talked about, the candle. I want to replay that real fast. If
the Bernie clip on. Okay, sure.
Bernie,
I'm assuming you have it queued up.
I do. I have to share my screen again and all that, but I do. Bernie Siegel is a very, very famous doctor that I interviewed yesterday. And if you didn't see this earlier, I know a lot of you did, but I want to replay this part where he talks about the candle because I just feel like I feel a God whisper. So
Robert Brooker, just know that you inspire us weekly, brother. Thank you for your consistent chime-ins.
Love Robert. So I want to share this again, if I may, and play it from that part. So hang on. Leanne didn't hear the candle part either. So
yeah, this is just the candle segment only.
Yep. There we go.
But I know she won't die with me here. Sure enough, one of the times I stepped outside for 15 minutes, half an hour. I came back and they said, yep, she died.
Wow. So what about the people though that think that that's it? Like, there are people who lose their children, and I know people personally that have lost a child that they live in this sadness and grief for the rest of their life.
I wrote Buddy's Candle. What are you doing to your loved one when you're walking around grieving and miserable all the time? They're looking down saying, hey, come on, enjoy life. Don't do that. Look what you're doing to me. You're putting my candle out with your tears. That's a line from the story that
just gave me chills.
I went to heaven, and because I was grieving over my father's death. And the angel said, sit down, Bernie. Here's a parade of fathers who have died this month. And they all came by carrying this gorgeous candle, beautiful robes. And I said, hey, look, there's a guy coming with a dark candle. And the angel said, so go light it. And I run up and it's my father. I said, Dad, I'm here to light your candle. He said, they do, but your tears keep putting it out.
Oh my God.
That is why I wrote that story.
Wow.
And that freed me. But I can also tell you that my wife died 2.5 years ago, peacefully in her sleep. Oh, it was a shock for me because in the morning I went to wake her up and found she had died quietly that night. But she has been in touch with me since in symbolic ways. She used to kiss me goodnight. Now, how can she kiss you goodnight? Blow out a candle. I get into bed and I hear, and then I feel a breeze on my face. And there's nobody in the room.
Wow.
Okay. I hear her voice. One night, I mean, I don't remember what she said. Well, I guess I would hear her going, like she's shifting around in the bed. So I sat up and I said, do you need any help? And then I realized, hey, stupid, she's dead. But I mean, to get up and say that, you can imagine how much it sounded like her. And the other is finding, we were married on the 11th, and she was born on 9/9. I have found, usually I'm wearing a shirt with a pocket, and I have her picture over my heart and all the dimes and pennies in it. I could show you. But I have found dimes and pennies, incredibly, in a bird bath, okay? Dirty water filled with leaves. The voice said, clean the bird bath. I go over, there's a dime and a penny. But this is the one that convinces me of afterlife and the mystical part. I make the bed when I get up in the morning and I go around to the other side. It's still the same bed my wife and I slept in.
Yeah.
Pull everything back and tighten it up. I pick up the sheets and the blankets in my hand to pull them towards me, and they flew out of my hand and flopped over on the other side of the bed. And what's lying on the sheet covering the mattress? A dime and a penny.
Wow.
Now, there is no explanation for that. Because it's under blankets and sheets. It's not, oh, it fell out of your pocket. I'm not sleeping with money in my pocket. But
right.
It was incredible. So I know that she's around.
This is my wife.
Else is mentioning finding pennies.
That's my wife.
The grandchildren called them pennies from heaven. See, that's the part that blows my mind. I said when my mother died, I was finding all these pennies that also I couldn't explain. It's like you go to the mailbox, there isn't any penny in your driveway. You come back, you find a half a dozen pennies. So I said, this has got to be from my, and this grandchild said, yeah, they're pennies from heaven. That blew my mind. Who's this little pipsqueak to share that and say that? And as soon as he said it, okay, it's a message. And let me mention the 9. What organ in my body, mind, body, what organ in my body is going to have a problem when my wife dies? My heart. The rhythm went nuts. So I went down to the emergency room, what's called auricular fibrillation. So I go to the emergency room, and as I walk in, I hear a voice yell, put him in room 9. I'm hardly in the emergency room, and they're yelling, put him in room 9. Then they said, we don't have a room for you upstairs yet. The next day they did. It was 819, which adds up to 99, and 8 is the new beginning. Then they give you your wristband. My identification number is 8996633. And every visit number has also added up to all 9s.
Wow.
Once it added up to our anniversary, 7/11.
Wow.
And I was upset that day because I was always saying to the nurses, it's all going to add up to 9. And then I looked, oh, it didn't. And then I realized, oh, it's my anniversary, 7/11.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I saved all those because, again, you can't explain it, in a rational way. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife says that her mom, my mother-in-law, found a penny on a busy street in Italy.
Yeah.
Oh, and I see this all the time. We're walking and she'll be like, oh, there's a penny from my dad. And I'm like, wow, that's because it happens all the time.
It's a sign to you, that this is the right place and everything's okay. And especially when I go shopping,
Good stuff.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I really strongly encourage everybody to go back and, if not watch the whole replay that you and I did, go to YouTube or Facebook and watch the replay of me interviewing Bernie yesterday. I could watch just that segment and get his book. What did he call the book about? The tears in the candle. He says it right there. It's unbelievable. Like, when you think that your constant grief and pain and crying over the loss of a loved one is putting out their candle in heaven, it's putting out the flame to their candle in the afterlife.
Well, a really simple litmus test is to go ahead and kill yourself in your mind. In other words, see yourself as already being on the other side. How do you want people handling your departure weeks, months, years after you're gone? I mean, they shed a tear. They have a service for you. Do you want them to get up and feel terrible? Is that what you want, Ken?
I mean, for a minute.
I know, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, on an ongoing basis, don't you want people to stand tall and basically just kick the snot out of every aspect of their life?
Absolutely.
And charge full steam ahead? I mean, I think anyone who's healthy would want that. So we're giving our loved ones their wish when we full steam ahead, It's
unbelievable. Glenn, I am out, man. I
love you, buddy. Go get some sleep.
Definitely our record, 3.5 hours, man.
And it's almost 2 a.m. in Ohio.
It is 6 minutes from 2 a.m.
And this was an official 2-day show for us. We started it on Saturday and it became a Sunday show.
And we got another one to do in just a few hours.
Yeah, and then we do one later tonight. That's true. Hey, so to all of our newbies that joined us tonight, we celebrate you. Thanks for discovering us. And please know that we do this every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 p.m. Pacific, with our show, The Ken and Glenn Show, with a guy named Scott. Same bat channel, same bat time.
Love you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all.
Ken, will you take them out with our music?
With the Ken and Glenn?
Yeah, I just love it. I sit here and I groove to it when it plays. You did such an amazing job editing it. I just love it.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
We love you guys. Have a blessed night. We'll see you tomorrow evening. If we don't, we'll see you when we see you.
Be this evening.
Oh, right. This evening, later tonight.
Technically.
Have a good night's rest. You'll be better off for having spent time with this kind of conversation. It's really good soul food.
Thank you. See you guys. Wrong video.
You just had the whole audience shut everything off, right? That's funny.
Wrong show. Here we go.